Nocticadia is just Gothicana with extra steps and worms. Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're doing a little bit of a rant on Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. Another book with a skull on its cover. This is very similar to another book that I read last year and hated. I hated Gothicana by Runix. They're similar not just because they are both dark academia, but because they are about a young woman with an ill mother who is accepted to a remote school where she meets a professor man who is embroiled in dark things to do with the school's history and who is obsessed with our main character, but says, no, we shouldn't. But yes, we should, and I'm obsessed with you. There were sometimes, not all the time, where if you took a passage out of this book and told me that it was from Gothicana, I would believe you. In Nocticadia, there are evil liver-eating worms instead of random crows like in Gothicana. And somehow this is 700, yeah, you heard me, 700 pages long, longer than the aforementioned worms and other worm-shaped things that are definitely in this book, if you catch my drift. Some of those chili pepper scenes are very similar to Gothicana. Again, some of the specific language used felt like Runix and Carrie Lake might just be the same person. Gothicana's chili pepper scenes haunt me to this day. Roll the clip. Here is a live reaction of me listening to this scene. Sometimes I hear a rustling or I see something out of the corner of my eye and I think, oh God, it's that weirdo professor mumbling, this is our madness, or ambrosia, ugh, to himself while he haunts my home like a creepy but also cringy specter. I would say that these scenes are bad enough to keep me up at night, but that ain't happening because nothing can keep me up anymore now that I have a Helix mattress. And Helix was kind enough to sponsor today's video. Carlos and I have been looking around for a new mattress for ages. Ours has withstood a lot and it needed to go. We had 2 kids jumping around on that thing, and before that we had the cats jumping around on that thing, and it has just worn down. And Helix got us just what we needed, and better, honestly, more than we could have asked for. We took the Helix sleep quiz and it matched us with the king size Midnight Luxe mattress with a cool topper, and we absolutely love it. Our old mattress was just about to make my spine look like a question mark with which I could use to question my reading choices. So you can imagine how well I've been sleeping now, since that is no longer the case. I cannot express to you how much this is the utmost comfort. It has done absolute wonders for my back. More importantly, it fits the 2 of us, 2 kids, and 2 cats when I'm willing to share it. Don't worry, the cats still sleep right next to my face. They don't care about the space or the cool topper, but I do. Helix is the most awarded mattress brand, and the mattress I got has been ranked the best overall mattress by Forbes. They have free shipping and seamless delivery straight to your doorstep, and the mattress comes rolled up in a box. You will not believe how tightly it's rolled up, and it's super easy to set up. As soon as that plastic came off, that thing just came to life. It was so easy, even I can do it. They also offer you a 100-night sleep trial to make sure that you'll love it as much as I do. So if you're looking for a new mattress, head on over to helixsleep.com/readswithrachel and take advantage of their exclusive Labor Day offer to get 27% off your purchase site-wide. Again, that's helixsleep.com/readswithrachel for 27% off. Thank you again to Helix for sponsoring today's video and for a great night's sleep. Let me give you the synopsis. This is 4.21 stars on Goodreads. It came out in 2023. It says it is a dark atmospheric tale of deadly secrets and forbidden love. Again, Gothicana, is that you? Mortui vivo docent. The dead teach the living. After watching my mother succumb to a mysterious illness, I promised myself 2 things. I'd find the cure for what ravaged her and leave the godforsaken city where she abandoned me. So her mom died due to this mysterious illness that comes with, the worms. So this sets it apart from Gothicana because in Gothicana, her mom's not dead. Her mom is institutionalized. Wait, did her mom die in the end? Oh my God, I can't remember. The point is, 4 years later, I received an acceptance letter from Nocticadia University, one of the oldest, most prestigious schools in the country. My God, how convenient. Nestled on a secluded island off the coast of Maine. Oh my God, is this a Stephen King book? It's rumored to be haunted by the souls of the mental patients exiled there centuries before. Those whose bones are said to make up the island's white sandy shores. And restless ghosts aren't even its most daunting peculiarity. Deverick Brand... I'm sorry. Deverick Bramwell, known on campus as Dr. Death, is a brilliant pathologist in charge of the Midnight Lab. First of all, his name is spelled with a Y. Okay. He's also my devastatingly handsome professor, who seems to loathe tenacious first years like me, except his dark and enigmatic gaze tells me all the ways he'd devour me if given the chance. His stolen kisses burn my lips with forbidden jealousy. I crave his authority. He aches for redemption. Together we're toxic, delicious fodder for the prying eyes hell-bent on exhuming the rotted skeletons of our past. For the dead have much to teach, and it's only a matter of time before Dracadia's most depraved secret is resurrected. Cool. One of the reviews for this says, I would poison myself with Noctisoma, the worms, for Professor Bramwell or to read this book all over again. I'm happy for you. I can't relate to thinking that Deverick with a Y is worth getting liver-eating worms, but we're all different.
So you want to come up to my room?
I can't do this.
But you make me so hot.
So getting into this, the cover art, it says, I need to tell you this, is by OK Creations, which is how I feel about this. It's just okay. We could have done better. I'm just frankly sick of skull covers. Warning, this book contains explicit sexual content and violent scenes that some readers may find disturbing. Then it has a playlist, which I do, once again, I only recognize one, maybe two people on this list. I think I might know who Bastille is. I definitely know who Paramore is. I definitely know who Lana Del Rey is. Frankly, I'm just glad that Sleep Token's not on here. Deftones. This is a long playlist, which makes sense because this is a long book for, you know, basically no reason, honestly.
I'm in purgatory, a condition of temporary punishment and suffering from which I may never leave.
It says, author's note, welcome fellow Nocticadian, which is presumptuous. I don't go here. Hope you enjoy Professor Bramwell and Lilia's story. I love that we call him Professor Bramwell and not his first name, even though these are both adults. This entire author's note is basically like, hey, I know that there's like stuff in this book that isn't technically correct, but it's fictional, including the medical condition that Professor Bramwell has and also the worms. It also lets you know up front that this is a dark gothic academia romance, therefore you can expect subtle supernatural elements, a dark and atmospheric setting, a slow burn romance, a moody and Byronic, morally gray male lead, and a sprinkling of mystery. Like most of my gothic romances, this is a standalone, and since I'm not planning to write additional books for this couple, I decided to hold you captive in this world a little longer.
You need to leave. Now. All of you.
Explaining why it's 700 fucking pages, I guess. A word of caution, this book contains a number of potentially triggering situations. You can find the full list of trigger warnings with spoilers on my website. We then have a glossary, and then we have translations where there's a bunch of French, which I don't know why we needed this here. It literally is like in one scene that French is used. We open on Dracadia Island, the fictional island off the coast of Maine, in 1753, where this guy named Lord Asterley is going to the island. The Commodore had heard horrific stories of patients with black veins who'd been left to hang, bleeding by their feet, those whose mouths and eyes had been sewn shut and tongues removed. The entire island has been burned to ash. There's a boy who's been burnt who says, they commanded the flames, and the flames did their bidding. Who commanded the flames? Witches? Worms, black worms spilling from the mouths of madness.
Oh, me? Nah, I'm just a worm.
And then he tells this little boy tells the Commodore, you cannot leave, they will not allow it. The boat they came to the island on has disappeared. And the little boy says, your boat was never there to begin with. You and your men arrived with priests days ago. You're dreaming now, but soon you will wake up to the sound of crackling fire. You and your men will be tied to stakes. And then the chapter ends with this happening, with him slowly waking and realizing that that's exactly what happened. So he was just hallucinating that entire thing. In present day, except it's not present day, it's like 4 years ago. The beginning of this book was actually kind of strong because it seemed like the author was going for this like very cinematic element where you're watching like people being burned at the stake, and then you flip to present day and the main character is cooking spam in a pan, gross, but I mean, you know, nailed the visual. Ew. Mama's illness had gotten worse. Her mom is sick and at night tells her that evil men are coming for her. Our main character, Lilia, lives with her mom who is ill, her younger sister, B, and B's dad, Connor, who's kind of a no-good. Her mom is sort of like hurting her sister because her mom is hallucinating, thinking that her sister is one of them. Her mom is getting worse. Her mom attacks her, Lilia, and then a long, skinny, fibrous creature slithered out past her lips and into the water.
You're a worm, aren't you?
Yeah, shot.
3 more tumbled after it, 2 from her nose. Ugh, I will say the worms in this are actually kind of cool, though disgusting. I do dig it. I dig the horror element of this. That's all I dig in this because Lilia is worthless. And our main love interest, Deverick with a Y, is a loser, like a major cringy loser. So then 4 years after this in chapter 2, Lilia is at work. She works as a janitor. She has a friend named Jada who she works with. Lilia attends college and she is planning to go to med school. She dreams of being part of medical research so she can try to learn what happened to her mom, because try as she might, she can't find any information about the particular worms that were coming out of her mom's mouth that seem to have led to her death, and nobody believes her about these worms. There's no information on the internet. Like Gothicana, there are supernatural elements to this, but it's mostly just our main character seeing hallucinations that don't get explained later in the book. Like for instance, in chapter 2, she sees a like specter of her mom essentially with like milky eyes, and then she sees one of the worms slithering down the toilet that she's cleaning because she's a janitor. But then when her friend comes in, suddenly there's like no trace of anything that she's seen, of course, except there's like a rat floating in the toilet. So I don't like when books, even movies, do this. I don't like when we have like, why was I hallucinating? Don't know why you saw that stuff. It just kind of feels lazy, like a way to set the scene and scare the reader, but then not have it pan out. I like to have reasons for things. We explain after this that the story is that her mother died by suicide and her sister B had found her dead. The story had a plot hole though, a void that had never filled after years of trying to remember the details of that night. I couldn't recall my mom having done the particular suicide thing that she did regarding risk. Surely I'd have mentally clocked such a gruesome sight in the timeline. When I'd insisted that I'd seen the worms spill from her mouth though, Connor had denied their presence and produced the coroner's report. There, plain as day, her cause of death stood out from every other gory detail: severe blood loss due to suicide. This is dual narration, and something that did actually scare the shit out of me was when you listen to the audiobook, I tandem read this. When you listen to the audiobook, the male narrator does a lot of voices. There's this moment where she's walking and there's like some old guy and he goes, hey girl, and she thinks it's just a drunk guy, but the voice that the narrator did genuinely scared the piss out of me. Anyway, it's just a guy trying to help her out with her bag or some shit, but anyway, yeah, if you listen to this, just be forewarned that you might get the piss scared out of you. Connor, her stepdad, is sort of like, he's not very responsible, and he hangs out with this guy named Angelo, who is like an absolute fucking creep. And in the beginning of this book, we mention her and Connor and Angelo have this conversation about her mother's birds. And I'm like, I'm wondering, okay, what's the relevance gonna be? Nothing. These birds of her mother's that live on top of the house come up at the beginning of the book and never again. And then when Connor's not around, Angelo makes a lot of sexual passes at Lilia, which is really gross. Asks her, have you touched a lot of dick? And, you know, asking and being like really inappropriate. If it weren't for me, your old man would be drowning in bills right now. It's me who keeps your sister in that fucking quack school and who keeps you from having to sell your pretty little kitty ass on the streets to pay for college. This is so ridiculous. So her sister attends a boarding school because she's not doing so well, which I don't really understand why the boarding school was necessary. Like, I guess because it's a place centered around mental health, but I don't know. Anyway, it's like really expensive, and her and Connor have trouble trying to keep up with the tuition. And Angelo is always roping in Connor into these different like money-making schemes, and he's like a source of fear for her. She's worried that he's getting Connor involved with the cartel. And I'm like, is the cartel active in Maine? Another thing that gets brought up that just drops off the face of the book later on is Lilia, our main character, being like a person who likes collecting like morbid things. Small treasures I collected over the past couple of years: bones of a long dead sparrow, the bright red feather of a cardinal, which my mother had always told me was a gift from the angels, a squirrel's rib bone, and 6 of my baby teeth in a tiny corked bottle, and a picture of her mother. It mentions that 2 weeks before, she had written a paper for her microbiology class, a case study. Although meant to be fiction, the assignment was to come up with a fictional disease, and I'd taken the opportunity to write about my mother's illness. Wow, how incredibly convenient that that came up. My mom had refused to see a doctor and remained adamant that I not take her to any hospital, no matter how bad it had gotten. Instead of detailing the suicide at the end, though, I wrote about the worms. I figured it wouldn't hurt, seeing as they didn't exist anyway. I referred to the disease in the paper as black worm syndrome, and apparently that delightful little case study had earned me a meeting with my professor. It also mentioned that her sister B, her right eye was a bump, a dermoid cyst. I thought that this was going to be more relevant, but it just comes up later where her mom says that she was going to see a doctor about B's case, but in fact was not going to see that doctor. I don't know how you would go see a doctor without bringing your child with you, but okay. Like if it's for the child's eye specifically. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's all just like plot convenience. Also, our main character fixes herself by a cuff to her bed every night because she sleepwalks. Another thing that I felt just sort of like dropped off the face of the book after about 75%. So she talks to her professor about this fictional disease that she wrote in this very convenient essay that was dropped in her lap. You seem to have exceptional insight into the fictional organism you wrote about. These worms that you described sound terrifying. I'm curious as to what happened to the individual that you cared for in the paper. Then he goes on to say that the organism described in the paper is not fictional. It exists. It's real. You won't find it in any textbooks or online searches, he says, because the research is ongoing and happens to be privately owned. And it just so happens to be happening at his alma mater, Dracadia. So he shared it with this woman named Dr. Gilchrist, who shared it with the Dean of Admissions at Dracadia, Dr. Langmore. And so then she just gets accepted to the College of Natural Science at Dracadia, where she can study groundbreaking medical research in their undergraduate program. In accordance with the academic scholarship we've awarded for fall semester, all expenses will be covered for travel, textbooks, and housing. She's applied at Dracadia before and did not get in. She goes to like a community college or something. I don't know. Receiving an acceptance letter this way just feels unofficial. Yeah, no shit. You know what book this also happened in? Gothicana. It happened in Gothicana. Anyway, we'll just keep going. Dracadia owns the research, Miss Vespertine. The organism in question is called Noctisoma. It's a parasite that exists predominantly on the island and rarely infects humans.
Oh, me? Nah, I'm just a worm.
We're just not a very reliable host, and not all physicians are aware of the organism as a human pathogen, which is why it's interesting to me that you know so much about this, considering that it's almost never diagnosed outside of Dracadia. At the beginning of the year, you told me you were interested in finding the cure for what took your mother's life. Were those not your exact words during introduction? If your patient and your case study is truly your mother, surely you wouldn't pass up the opportunity to attend the only university authorized to study this particular parasite. There's a Noctisoma expert at Dracadia, Professor Bramwell. He teaches neuroparasitology and gross anatomy. So he's like, once you attend, you won't want to leave, and she asks if she can think about it. But being at the university would mean that she would be far away, she wouldn't be able to work, she wouldn't be able to get money to cover her half of B's tuition because she and Connor, B's dad, split the cost of her sister B's tuition. I saw somebody say that this book has poetic writing, and when she looks up the school, it says, "The campus reminded me of something out of Dead Poets Society." Is that the poetic writing? Just mentioning Dead Poets Society? I'm not here to yuck your yum, but I just don't agree. She then goes on to look up this place up on the internet and finds out that a woman named Andrea Kepling, who'd been living in one of the abandoned houses on the island, had broken into the home of a Dr. Lippincott, the provost of Dracadia University. I have read this entire book and I just realized I never fucking looked up what a provost is. I have absolutely no fucking clue what that is. I did not go to college. A senior administrative officer. Okay, so he's a senior administrative officer. Cool. cool. He is not the dean. The dean is a different guy. A woman named Andrea Kepling had broken into Dr. Lippincott's office and attacked him and accused him of putting worms in her stomach. She talks to Connor and she's like, hey, listen, I want to leave. He's like, okay, I'm gonna have to rent out your old room. And she's like, could you not rent it out to Angelo though? Because he's kind of a fucking predator. What happens when B comes home for the holidays? You really want her around him? You think that's good for her mental health? B is fine. She doesn't need a fucking quack school and therapist. She needs friends, a life. She yells at Connor and says, you never deserved my mother. And he says, you ungrateful shits don't deserve me, so fuck you. So this is like a fucking episode of Shameless up in here now. In chapter 6, it switches over to Deverick with a Y's POV, and he is our professor boyfriend daddy guy that's gonna come up.
And what happens to those people who are unable to act on their feelings?
They get very frustrated.
Deverick is part of a secret society at Nocticadia called the Rooks, and the only time the Rooks comes up is this chapter, and then they get mentioned a couple times, kind of, and then they come back at the end of the book, and that's it. And I'm like, you did a whole 700-page novel with multiple really stupid sex scenes, and that's the best you could do to implement your secret society? For real? Is that really what we're doing? I just found that so incredibly disappointing. Like the catacombs of the college are called the Roos. Well, it's just outside of the university, and it says it's owned by the Seven Rooks Society, or the Rooks. This like never comes up again. Outside of the walls we were a rumor, a myth, a secret whispered amongst the student body, fodder for conspiracies, never seen, never heard. Yeah, that is accurate because we never see them and never hear them again until the end of the fucking book.
It's tragic, isn't it?
So they have a handbook, apparently, that says do not steal in the Rooks, and some guy stole.
Ow! What is wrong with you?
It's not your cookie.
I happen to be the one from whom he'd stolen. Years of research that the accused had nearly sold off to some pharmaceutical mogul. The Rooks were one of the 3 most powerful secret societies in the world, comprised of former CIA, FBI, presidents, inventors, all of whom had once sat in this very room at some point. Man, I hate when we don't do secret societies in a way that I find interesting. You know what book you're going to disagree with me about this is I think that the secret society in Ninth House was so boring. Nobody does secret societies in a way that I like. I'm too picky. So they fill this guy's jail cell with gas and kill him for stealing from medical research, and his name will never be spoken again. 2 weeks after she has received this invitation to Nocticadia, Lilia has still not decided what to do. She doesn't really have the ability to like pay B's tuition unless she keeps working, but her friend Jada and their boss, I guess, get her some money, and so she's gonna be able to use that to like pay her half of B's tuition. So she tells Connor, he's like, you still need to help me with B, and she's like, all right, I've got a little bit of cash. I'll get a job at school. They have work study. And so she decides to go to Nocticadia University. Yay! Artemis, aren't you excited? You look so happy. Thrilled even. Co-host, do you have any input? No thoughts at this time. In the next chapter, our other main character, Deverick, is, first of all, he's hunting, but then he's also talking about to himself how he has to have sex. It was sickening the way the mind could eventually grow numb to the parasitic needs of the flesh. I'd made a point to meet twice a week with Loretta Gilchrist. Remember her? Dr. Gilchrist? Same lady who asked that Lilia be brought into the college. Yeah. The entomology professor, to burn off the pent-up agony of insatiable sexual appetite.
I thought I heard animal noises.
Kill me, but she'd broken my no-touch rule. Ordinarily, I would have bound her arms to avoid the mistake, but that evening I'd been hasty and irritated by my body's needs. The incessant intrusion of thought, which had rendered me anxious to get it over with, to f***ing be done with it so I could return to my studies. I get it! You need to bang. Like, I get it. Chill out. I don't need it said in 3 separate sentences. My God. Anyway, he's upset because the lady that he sometimes goes to Pound Town with touched him. So he has like a no touchy rule, similar to Christian Grey. Hated it there, hate it here. Good God. Anyway, he's, by the way, still on the hunt for a human being. He finds the guy that he's looking for specifically, wanted by police. He was on the run for an entire lifetime of crimes for which had never made the paper. Perhaps That should have been good cause to turn him over to the authorities. To act the hero, heroics were boring. Oh, sorry, let me do it in the voice. Heroics were boring. Boo, you're a loser. So he kidnaps this guy and takes him back to his lab.
And we're locked in some sort of do-it-yourself dungeon, so no, I'm not okay.
And keeps him in a cage. This guy is an alcoholic and abused his family. He abused his son, like physically, and his wife. He gives the guy a glass of whiskey, and the whiskey has, the guy doesn't know, but it has like eggs or larvae in it for the worms, because he's going to do more testing on the worms on this guy, because something that the worms give off within the body he uses for Deverick's own autoimmune disease. Which one? Disease, right? Not a doctor. I'm a pathologist here at the university, the primary researcher for a parasitology product that's funded by exceptionally wealthy and powerful individuals. I'm in desperate need of human subjects. The whiskey you just chugged contains thousands of tiny eggs. Oh, it is eggs. Each of them encased in a wonderful spore-like outer shell that protects them from the ethanol in the alcohol. And he's like, you're a sick fuck. And he's like, well, you're a bad person. I don't care. So we set the tone of Deverick only does this to bad people, except no, he doesn't. Deverick does this to people. What separates monsters from good men is only a matter of perspective. In your eyes, I'm a sick fuck for what I've done to you, but I, on the other hand, see you as a parasite. And see, the thing about this is that, like, Deverick, I think, had the means to like catch bad people and then just didn't. So later when he goes to kidnap somebody who he admits is a okay person, we just never think about this. And the fact that this like also we find out was done to Lilia's mom, and he doesn't admit that he almost did the same thing that was done to Lilia's mom to some other woman, just feels like really gross to me. And the thing I don't like about these like dark romance books is that like we excuse anything that the guy does as long as he's hot. Like, it was gross that the other men did this to the women who were tested on, but then when he was gonna do it, it's like, yeah, I feel bad, she is innocent, but I don't have a choice. And then he backs out at the last second, but then like you never do any self-reflection on how that was you doing the exact same thing that your dad was accused of doing and that another guy did. You are no better. All you are is just hot. Like, I feel like there is absolutely zero self-reflection here. And I can't just pass it off as like, well, it's dark romance, they're supposed to be morally gray. Yeah, but the internal logic of the book is in conflict with that, and the only reason this guy is getting a pass by this book's internal logic is because he is hot. So Barletta, the guy in the cell inside of our love interest's lab, is starting to feel great. Which is a normal process of the worms being in the body, and it's actually cleaning his liver before it then uses it as food. Like the worms. The toxin even produces chemicals that essentially control the part of your brain that craves alcohol. Alcohol would be detrimental to all the work it's doing inside of you. It tells you that you no longer need it, and your body responds like mind control. So I think that the parasite stuff in this book is actually really cool. I just wish it didn't get bogged down by all the stuff that is like super uncool. But the guy's like, but I am gonna die, right? And he says, yeah, you are going to die eventually, but you were dying anyway. You don't strike me as a serial killer. Why are you doing this? Because like the parasite inside you, I am only interested for my own selfish gain, he says. I got kids, man, a family. You don't give a shit about your family. If you did, you wouldn't have hurt them. I didn't mean to hurt my son. I don't mean to kill you either. It's just a consequence. At this point, he is come upon by some physical symptoms, our love interest slash main character, Deverick, and he starts to have hallucinations about his twin brother, Caedmon. Now I know what you're thinking, twin brother, what? Is this starting to sound a little bit like Riverdale and Pretty Little Liars? You bet it is. It is as goofy as those things.
That means you haven't known the triumphs and defeats, the epic highs and lows of high school football.
Now, did I watch those things as guilty pleasures? Yes, I did, but knowing that they were ridiculous and laughing at them. This book is taking itself seriously, which I can't. In this flashback we see of Deverick with a Y and Caedmon, Caedmon, his twin brother, older by 3 minutes. They steal a picture of their mother from their mean father's desk. Their mother died upon giving birth to them, specifically to Devrick, and his dad is mad at Devrick about this, but not Caedmon, because that's how that works. Their dad comes in, he's physically abusive to them, and then he throws Devrick into basically like a morgue full of dead bodies, and it's really cold, and a cold sensation like ice crystals crawling beneath my skin slithers from my neck down to my fingertips. A thick numb throbbing in my hands, and when I lift my arm to wipe away tears, I can't feel anything, not my skin, nor the closet's rough floor beneath me. Only an agonizing tingle lingers with the pressure. Father, please help me. And then I guess Caedmon gets beaten. I don't know. He's like screaming, and then the screaming goes silent. So Devrick explains this to this guy that he's holding captive, and he explains that his father, in physically abusing him and his twin brother, hit Devrick in a very specific part of his brain, consequently dislodging and activating a latent congenital prion disease. Zygomyositis was the technical term for it, or von Erich's disease, as it was more commonly known, a rare condition seen in an exceptionally small fraction of the population, incurable and unstoppable in its destruction. Ain't there a small part of you that cares about your old man, though, even though he knocked you around? Devrick does not like this, and then he explains that his death, the Bartlett's, whatever, the prisoner's death will help him have a better understanding of the toxin so that Devrick can save lives. I don't know why Devrick suddenly cares about saving lives. That seems antithetical to who he is, but okay. Anyway, in Lilia's POV, she's checking out the college. There's a beautiful sea, even though she's terrified of the ocean. It's her deepest fear. Don't make a sleep token reference. Don't make a sleep token reference. Don't make a sleep token reference. If you want to see me make a sleep token reference, I have a whole video on sleep token. Please watch it. The algorithm hates when I talk positively about things. She also sees a black moth. Moths had always scared my mother for some reason. You know, it just seems to me that if you would put 2 and 2 together, you might understand that. Your mom had worms coming out of her. Maybe the moths reminded her of the worms. Maybe your mom kept birds because birds eat worms. Maybe you could put these pieces together. But it actually doesn't say, maybe my mom liked birds because they eat worms. It just says, my mom had birds, and then we never hear from the birds again. And I'm not asking for us to constantly hear from the birds, like the Alfred Hitchcock film. I'm just asking it to maintain consistency. The book, that is. And also not make our main character stupid. I feel like that's a bare minimum ask. But why does she need to be stupid when her professor boyfriend is so smart? She hears something on the other side of her door. She opens the door, and there's a button with an iron cross etched into its surface. And then she goes and hides in her bedroom. She then meets this guy named Spencer, and you know, again, like this book got called poetic, but it has like a lot of pop culture references done in like a really weird way. Like this one says, the guy reminded me of Paul Walker. Erase that line, for the love of God. Later, we're literally going to have a line that says everybody was watching the Big Bang Theory and they were saying bazinga. I don't need that. Erase it. Spencer is really popular.
Do you still have any friends, Spencer?
But he wants to hang out with Lilia. Now, I think, if I remember correctly, this also happened in Gothicana. She says that she does not want to eat lunch with him, even though he buys her lunch because she's broke and her credit card didn't work. So she goes off to sit by herself. Her friend Jada texts her and is like, are you making friends? And Lily's like, no, I'm eating alone because I'm a loner until my daddy boyfriend professor... Ah! Phone just fell. Until my daddy boyfriend professor comes and rescues me from my isolation. She feels like an outcast, which in part is self-inflicted, when Spencer comes and talks to her again. And then it says, just as I was on the verge of unzipping my skin and crawling away, a figure strode into the room. They're in class, by the way, in Devrick's class. My heart stalled in my chest.
Holy crap.
I think this is exactly how Corvina first met, what is his name? Vad in Gothicana. He strolls into his class and she's like, that's the hottest man I've ever seen in my life. And all boys are gross, disgusting, immature people. And the only man who has ever really gotten me hot under the collar is this guy who I shouldn't talk to because it's inappropriate. And we're in his classroom and I'm Corvina and I'm special. They go to class and who's the teacher? Professor Hot Guy with the hair streak. Within 30 seconds, the narration is telling us that this man is the first time Corvina Clem has experienced lust. So glad I had that spelled out to me, an adult reader who could have just picked up on context clues. That is literally what's happening here. This is indistinguishable from Gothicana save the worms. In his black button-down shirt, black slacks, and black finger-raked hair, he looked like an ominous shadow moving through the lecture hall with the kind of lethal grace that had undoubtedly obliterated a few hearts.
Hey, Mr. Fitz. Looking good, Mr. Fitz.
His outfit matched the infamous black to-go cup clutched in his hand. I guess all the professors drink coffee out of black to-go cups. Prologue 2, Corvina Clem. First line, black. It was the absence of color, the abyss of unknown. She loved black. Of course, it's all black. Just like the song Paint It Black was in the playlist for Gothicana, everything in this book's been painted black too, because it wouldn't be like dark and broody unless everybody wore black. My name is Ebony Darkness Raven Dementia Way. And the girl sitting in front of her takes a picture of our dear professor, who we all think is super hot. Why does Dr. Death have to be so fuckable? She posts on her fucking Instagram account, which is, again, super inappropriate.
There are teachers that you don't want to see on a bike, and there are teachers that you do want to see on a bike.
And that's when she realizes, oh, this is Dr. Bramwell. He certainly dressed the part of death with all that black. I'm Professor Bramwell, and this is my teaching assistant, Ross Geller. The class is neuroparasitology. And Spencer, Paul Walker, I guess, is like, is this your first Bramwell class? He doesn't like to be recorded, but all the notes are available on Dracnoti. And I'm like, what the fuck is Dracnoti? Doesn't matter, it never comes up again. She doesn't use it. Is there anyone here who has not taken the parasitology prereq? Oh God, just kill me already. And she has not taken the prereq. And he's like, see me after class. You've all signed the non-disclosure agreement online during orientation, except for Lilia. She has to sign the non-disclosure agreement. So then they talk in this class about parasites that sort of mind control their hosts, which again is interesting stuff. It's more interesting than what we learned in Gothicana. What did we learn in class in Gothicana again? I don't remember. All I remember is ambrosia. The female jewel wasp makes a practical nursery for her young out of a cockroach. Gross, disgusting, kind of cool. Parasitic mind control is an emerging science, not yet well understood. It is a complex and fascinating field of study. True. I agree with this. Doesn't matter though, because we're back to lust. Bramwell didn't take those cognac eyes off me. Cognac, cute, so cute. So after class he talks to her and he says, know that I've failed more students than I've passed. With all due respect, I believe that's the failure of the one teaching. You being here's a mistake. Let's not make it an egregious one. Keep up with the reading, attend the recitations. I will. And she's like, oh my God, he's like not wearing a wedding band. Don't worry, he has time to steal one off the corpses of the people that he murders in his lab. Oh wait, you don't care about that. He's hot. I forgot. So she talks to Spencer, Paul Walker guy, and he's like, yeah, I don't really like that guy. My friend was dating Jenny Herrick, who disappeared, and the last person to see her alive was Dr. Bramwell. Cameras caught her leaving out some back door of his lab the night she went missing. And you don't think that makes the boyfriend a suspect? He was pissed for sure. He always thought there was something going on between them, but I talked him down that night. So you're the campus knight in shining armor. Is he? And Professor Inappropriate is there, and he's like holding on to her, and she asks him about Alyssa, Jade's former roommate, who died by suicide. And she's like, did you also corner Alyssa in the library? He's like, why would I do that? I was never with Alyssa in the library. Everybody just keeps giving her a heads up about Dr. Bramwell. She then goes to work study, where she will be working in the the science texts room, the Sterling room, where she basically just conveniently gets tasked with reading history. Wow, how incredibly convenient that she's reading the history of the island, where that's the only place where the Noctisoma worms come from, and Noctisoma worms just happen to be what infested her mom. Wow! Serendipitous. So then she meets the guy in charge of Sterling Record House or whatever. He's the master librarian for the Sterling Science Wing. He tells her about Lord Commodore Adderley, the guy who at the beginning was, getting roasted like spam. What?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
He's getting pan fried. He Anyway, and he tells her some of the texts here require permission to access that you do not have. She's like, I just spend my time here reading? Yes, convenient, isn't it? She keeps seeing a dark figure looming about her. And he's wearing a plague doctor mask. She sees on the news that Angelo is wanted for questioning because some billionaire CEO who'd been found brutally slain a few days ago. I'm like, oh no, that's the wrong guy. That's this guy. Not Angelo. It's the wrong name. Authorities believe Angelo DeLuca may have had dealings with a cult and is considered armed and dangerous. So she calls Connor and she's like, what the hell? It wasn't him. He's been here the whole time. He thinks he's marked by someone, but he won't say who. Some sadist group, they call themselves Schadenfreude, but don't go repeating that. They're dangerous, according to Angelo. Schadenfreude sort of falls off the map until the end and wasn't really necessary, to be honest. Melisandre, the girl who warned her about Bramwell, shows up and she's like, hey, you also need to be careful around Spencer. Spencer's not a good guy. First Bramwell, then Spencer? Why? Because he's a lying piece of shit, a manipulator. He's been pretty cool to me, Lilia says. That's what manipulators do. Noted, Lilia says. And I was just like, I just don't really understand. First of all, we're making every guy who isn't Bramwell out to be douchey. And second of all, why are we so standoffish towards another girl? And we make like the only girl she meets bad, which is the same thing that happened in Gothicana? Okay. Dr. Gilchrist, the woman doctor who Bramwell has a sexual relationship with, also got Lilia into the program, is upset that Lilia is in Dr. Bramwell's neuroparasitology class. She accuses Lilia of charming him. She's like, well, I'm the chair for the College of Natural Science and I don't want you in that class. And Spencer's like, well, Bramwell's okay with her being there and he's tight with the provost and the deans, so too bad. Gilchrist's lecture was by no means anywhere near as riveting as Dr. Bramwell's. Yeah, well, isn't that just so convenient? And Spencer lets slip that Dr. Lippincott, provost, is actually his father, because everybody's related. It's one of those books. Again, I feel like everything I read lately is just guess who's related to whom, which again feels very Pretty Little Liars. I just have a hard time taking this seriously when it does stuff that is happening in Pretty Little Liars nonstop. You'll never believe who is secretly the half-sibling of so-and-so. I don't care. So she ends up staying in Gilchrist's, she's in a classroom when Gilchrist and Deverick have a conversation, and she wasn't supposed to be there, so she's hiding, and she hears them have a conversation about her being in his class and how Gilchrist doesn't like that, and Deverick's like, too fucking bad. Then they also have a conversation about how Gilchrist still wants to have a sexual relationship, and Deverick's like, no, I don't want to. Lily is smart, I'll give her that, but she isn't that smart, Deverick. What a bitch thing to say. Oh my god, please. This is so stupid. She gets caught by him eavesdropping. The next time you decide to eavesdrop, perhaps you might opt to be more subtle. I, didn't mean to eavesdrop. I forgot my phone. And then she wants to know if she can ask him a few questions about Noctisoma, and he's like, yeah, in office hours, sure. They have labs with Dr. Bramwell in the middle of the night, literally called the Midnight Lab, and they are picked up by a bus called the Nocticadia bus. Oh, and the lab itself, Midnight Lab, is also called Nocticadia. And they are doing this at midnight because that's when the parasites are most active. Somehow that made sense. I remembered in my mother's illness that she'd always seemed to be most active at night. I once awoke to her eating raw hamburger and just about lost my mind. Okay, keep that in mind because she goes into the Midnight Lab where all of the worms are and where all of the moths are that are infected with Nocticadia, or Noctisoma, sorry. And the moths used to be black, but then they turn purple like the cover. And they also have to do this under like certain kinds of light, like candlelight, because they're sensitive to light. Natural candlelight and bioluminescent light is okay, but anything fluorescent, that's a no-no. They tend to get aggressive, making it hard to handle them. And it says, is that meat? These guys like their steak rare and bloody. Like my mother's cravings. Strange, she thinks to herself. Is it strange? Is it strange? Doesn't it like add up completely? And so she sees the worms and it says, the exact worms I'd seen expelled from my mother. Real. And I'm like, yes, bitch, that's why we're here. Keep up. That's why you got let into the school. That's correct. So the cycle of life for the Noctisoma worms are the females submerge themselves in water to lay eggs. Once they hatch, they make their way to the Knox berries on the surface, which Knox berries come up later. Then the moths eat the berries and become infected with Noctisoma worms. They're supposed to record all of their notes, but not on a phone. They are not allowed to record on phones in any of Dr. Bramwell's classes. They're supposed to update their journals, and if they don't update their journals, it will result in automatic dismissal. Now, just like with Gothicana, the actual classroom stuff ends up falling off later because it all becomes about, you know, the relationship. But I think that's normal for like dark academia romance. I mean, that's like sort of what happened in, I really love this kind of bad, kind of good movie called The Covenant, which is dark academia-ish. And that sort of happens there, where like any sort of like classroom stuff like falls off basically immediately. But I judge books differently than I do movies because books have more time, and especially a 700 fucking page book. Dr. Bramwell is not leading the class. His assistant Ross is. She asks about Dr. Bramwell and his laboratory, where she knows that he does autopsies sometimes, like on special occasions. And Spencer's like, he sometimes comes up here, grabs a few berries, and then disappears with them, which I don't really understand. Like, has Spencer already taken this same class, or I don't know. And so she's like, oh, so he's studying the parasite as well. I wonder if he's working on a cure for it. Objective for the semester, find out what Bramwell did in the lab. Bramwell up to this point has still not bothered to read the paper that she did on Noctisoma, and he's like, all right, so how did this girl come across one of the cases of these worms? He looks up her mom's name, doesn't find anything about Noctisoma, finds out that she was dead by suicide, and nothing in her autopsy report is consistent with Noctisoma patients. And he's wondering if the autopsy report was altered. And he's like, where did Francesca Vespertine come from, and how did she get infected? Dr. Gilchrist is still trying to have Lilia removed from his class. And he's like, Dr. Gilchrist needs to keep her nose out of my fucking business. No one touched what belonged to me without repercussion. My class, my requirements, my student. Lilia Vespertine was about to be a headache, but she was my headache. Boo, loser behavior, don't care. Lilia goes to like a natural shop, and this was so ridiculous, but the lady at the natural shop was like, you look just like Vanessa Corbin. Are you related to her? And Lilia's like, no. I would have at this point been like, that's gotta be a clue for something. But Lilia is stupid, despite us being told she's smart, so guess not. And this woman gives her something called Black Rock tea. And she's like, what's Black Rock tea? And she's like, it's from this black rocks that are off the coast of this island, and it's really difficult to make, and my grandson has to go get the black rocks because the waters are shark infected. Infested. The word you were looking for was infested. And I thought that the sharks were going to be a thing that come up. They don't. I wish the sharks had eaten everybody. And she's like, yeah, my mom was really into natural remedies. And once again, this woman's like, are you sure you don't know a Vanessa Corbin? At this point, I would have asked. She then sees some signs of like people who are missing, like wanted posters and missing posters. And there's one of a guy named Barletta, the same guy who is in the basement of our Dear Deverick. Beside Barletta hung a missing persons poster, a blonde with bright blue eyes, Jenny Herrick, the girl who'd gone missing, the one Mel had told me about on the first day. Her and Deverick have a conversation where she asks, how was it introduced into humans, Noctisoma that is. In the colonial era, the disease was believed to have been spread by the natives who shot the larvae using blow darts into those they deemed a threat. It's hard to say how many cases emerged after the fall of the tribe, seeing as the island remained abandoned for a number of years. It re-emerged about 30 years ago when a wanderer camping in the woods stumbled upon the knoxberries and consumed them. I don't really love using the natives of this fictional island like this. That doesn't seem like a good idea. She's like, my mom died of Noctisoma, and he says, well, our facility would have been the one to confirm such a diagnosis if it had been properly diagnosed. She said, well, she didn't ever see a doctor. Did she attend Nocticadia? He asked. Did she visit here? Did she live here for any length of time? She says no, but she doesn't really know. Like, there is the chance that she was lied to. Like, she has no proof of her life, of her mom's life before you know, her mom came to live and be with Connor, and like, there's no proof of this. Like, and the fact that, like, a smart girl would have asked, okay, there has to be a reason my mom has this, so it's possible my mom lied to me. And it doesn't even, like, occur to her. She doesn't have any family. Like, you have nobody backing up your mom's, like, backstory, whatever the fuck that was at this point. She's like, I saw these worms crawl out of my mom's body. She's like, I want to work in your lab. And he says, no, I don't take students into my lab. If you'll excuse me, I want to return to my work. And then he has a seizure. She holds his hand while he goes through this seizure. He whispers the word impervious over and over again. She crumpled up his coat and put it under his head during his seizure, and when he comes to, he's like, that was a $500 coat. Next time you decide to crumple something, use your own. She's like, I guess I shouldn't have bothered to stick around. I guess you shouldn't have.
All right, roger that. Roger that.
In one word, it says, asshole prick bastard. Forgive me for being a decent human being. A decent human being would have given a man some dignity by leaving when she was excused.
Where's Jesus?
It occurred to me then he wasn't angry at me per se, but perhaps a bit embarrassed. Biggest red flag. If a man is mean to you because he's embarrassed, if he treats you less because he's embarrassed, if his personal feelings about himself mean more to you in that moment, mean more to him in that moment than his medical safety and treating you like a human being, biggest red flag. And if he never apologizes for this, don't date him, let alone fuck him. I guess this woman's just built different.
You're scaring my ovaries.
We get a flashback scene of Deverick dealing with, you know, being locked up by his father, and his brother is the one who teaches him that if you say the word impervious, it'll make you feel strong. He shares with Barletta, his prisoner, that he has a rare genetic disorder called von Erich's disease. It remains dormant until late in life unless triggered by trauma. If it's genetic, does that mean your brother has it too? And the answer is had, which lets us know that his brother is dead. Barletta is starting to crave meat. He's starting to spiral. He's craving a lot of water because the parasites tell you to seek out water so that they can lay their eggs. Deverick says, I need the organism inside of you because I'm going to harvest it when you die. For what? So that I can feel again. What, like you can't feel anything at all? No, it's like being trapped inside a corpse. Their toxins are the cure. Unfortunately, they're not easy to manufacture in a lab. It takes a fresh human body. And he explains that this is not the first time he does this. He has done this to another person before him. I don't know who that was. Oh, it might have been one of these guys that he attacked for killing his brother. We'll get there. Lilia gets a call letting her know that only her half of the tuition got paid. Connor has not been paying. So she calls Connor. He explains, I didn't pay. She says they're going to kick her out. And he's like, she doesn't need that school. She just needs more friends. So now she has to work out, you know, figuring out what to do about B's tuition. She needs to make money fast. She calls her friend Jada, and Jada's like, oh, one time when I needed money, I went on this website called VoyeurBait, and if you masturbate in public and send your video in, you get $200. They might like the schoolgirl thing, and you could make tuition with a single video. And she thinks, when should I do this? I know. Lab. The midnight lab would be perfect. Would it be perfect? You could do this anywhere. You could do this anywhere. Why specifically the midnight lab? And this just felt so like such a setup and such like a stupid, like you're supposed to be smart. You're going into the one place you know you're not supposed to record on your cell phone, first of all. And second of all, it just feels like out of all the ways that you needed to make money, this, when like Spencer's been super nice to you, you know that he's Dr. Lippencott's son, you could just ask to borrow $200 if you need it right this second, and then you could find a job and pay it back to him. But no, you went on voyeurbait.com. But we needed this to happen so that her video of her with no clothes on can end up in the hands of her professor. Of course, it just feels really lazy to set it up this way. It's like, how do we get to the horny parts? I know, the fastest way possible. It's like, whoa, slow down. Let's do this more logically. Deverick's POV, he explains to Barletta, he's like explaining his life story to Barletta, and he explains that his twin brother Caedmon and him were at Von Erich Academy, a prep school affiliated with Nocticadia, and they were there when they were attacked by a bunch of men and Caedmon was kidnapped. So Lilia goes into her class and films herself flicking the bean. One deep breath, and I move my finger up and down my seam. This book says seam way too much. It's criminal, honestly. My thigh muscles clenching on contact, swallowing a gulp. I kept my eyes on Ross, who's the assistant who's giving the lecture. A slippery wetness slid across my fingertips. In the dull black benchtop, a face came to mind. Copper eyes, deep voice, stern brows. And then Deverick shows up into the class. She pulls her hand away, and then she starts watching his hands, and she's like, wow, he has sexy hands, which I get it. I'm into men too, so I understand, like, hands are beautiful, and when men have nice hands, it's great. It's just that this guy is a creep, and I don't care what his hands look like. I watched his hand movements, focusing on his fingers and tuning out the topic. They were the perfect length, not too thin, but not too thick either. Oh, she's like Goldilocks. She's looking for the just right fingers. And so then, staring at his hands, she starts to flick the bean again. I lost myself in the vivid fantasy of him finger me. That's great. My fingers plundered with greed. So this book really likes to use the same words over and over again. Seam, plundered, and greed. And first of all, plundering just makes you sound like a fucking pirate. And seam is just horrible. And greed and greedy being used in sex scenes just makes me want to die. Then he tells her she's bewitching and says, steer clear of me, little crow. You might be... Oh God, this is so fucking stupid! Steer clear of me, little crow. You might be a luring siren, but I'm no ordinary sailor. I'm a mad pirate, and if I land on your shores, I will plunder and take away everything worth having. Be very careful giving me those eyes. I'm a mad pirate, and if I land on your shores, I will plunder. So wet that the fluids leak down my thighs. How, like, what are you gonna do? Walk around with stuff, like, just falling out of you in class? You're just gonna walk around like that in a skirt? So she's about to arrive, and when her phone falls out of her hands, falls on the floor.
Spencer?
What? I'm sorry, what was the question?
Professor Bramwell comes up because she's not supposed to be filming in this class. He's like, you better not be recording in my class. The NDA you says, like, you signed, it says that I can confiscate your phone if I suspect that you're filming. And he's like, delete whatever you were recording in front of me right now. And she should have just taken this opportunity and then didn't, and took the absolute stupidest way out, because he said he's going to confiscate the phone, and instead she says, take it. I wasn't recording intentionally. I dropped my phone and the record button went off. If you don't believe me, you're welcome to take my phone. You are so stupid. You are so dumb. Of course he's going to take the phone. He doesn't know you. He doesn't trust you. You signed an NDA. He literally thinks that you were recording. Of course he is going to go ahead and take the phone. So of course he does. He takes the phone. And he's like, okay, well, I'll take it and I'll return it at the end of the lab. She's like, stupid, 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 which absolutely true. Absolutely true. You are incredibly dumb. In Deverick's POV, it says, I'd be damned if I'd let some newly minted adolescent attempt the same. I just want to remind you that she just called, by the guy who's going to bone her later, a newly minted adolescent. He's about to see her vagina, and he just called her a newly minted adolescent. Jail, FBI. I clicked on the photo icon, and the image in the small preview window had me frowning. I could make out what looked like her hand beneath the hem of her skirt. Fuck. Why look when I had a perfectly good idea of what was on that video? I don't know, you just called her a newly minted adolescent, so your guess is as good as mine. Her arrived in perfect view, shaved clean of every hair, and when she pressed two fingers up against her folds, come on, opening herself up, I bit my knuckles while staring down at that beautiful pink shell. Every line of this is grosser than the last, and it just says, fuck me. She toyed with her seam. Why are we using the word seam over and over? I'd been embroiled in enough scandals throughout my life. The last involving a student hadn't even warranted the reputation I'd earned. Don't do this. The girl had to be at least 12, maybe 13 years younger than me. A woman, but young. And a student, for fuck's sake. I just want to remind you that you just called her a newly minted adolescent. So, she pumped those wet digits while I unwittingly gave my lecture. Pumped those wet digits. Oh my God. The way she sat in my class with her wild hair that reminded me of the autumn leaves. Oh my God, don't make a sleep token reference. Don't make a sleep token reference. Don't make a sleep token reference. I thought the urges had declined over time, seeing as I'd lost interest with Loretta so quickly, yet clearly they hadn't. The light on her screen dimmed again, and I swiped it up, keeping it from locking. On a whim of absolute adrenaline, I sent the video to my phone, then clicked on her texts and deleted it permanently. I saw text threads to someone named Connor. Whether he was her boyfriend or husband, I couldn't tell. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. A bitch can't have a brother or a stepdad or a dad. He can't be family. God forbid he's an uncle. He has to be either a boyfriend or a husband. I have a sneaking suspicion that he was named Connor so that just for this scene, just so that he could sound young enough to plausibly be her boyfriend / husband in this scene to Deverick. Then he sees another text to Jada regarding the website called Voyeur Bait. The header read, "Easy money, submit your videos and get paid." It occurred to me right then that she'd made the video for cash. Whoever Connor had screwed her out of much needed money. She wasn't into public gratification by nature. And what if she was? It's not your business if it's not happening in your class. The correct answer is to be like, give her back her phone, say, don't do that in my class, and send her on her merry way. But no, not you, sir. Not you. I found Miss Vespertine sitting, bright doe eyes and cupid bow lips. Oh, doe eyes. Perfect. Just what I was hoping you would not say. He tells her, I'll trust that you'll delete what you recorded in my class. Damn her. Damn that innocent face and those cherry blossom lips she sat nibbling on that probably tasted like cherries. Say cherries one more time. So then she, in her POV, does not delete what she recorded and thinks, okay, should I post this? Should I not post this? And then she accidentally hits the submit button, changes her mind, decides that sex work is fine for other people, but not for her, but then submits it anyway. Then suddenly it's getting 30 views, then 50 views. There was no way to delete. She gets a text from B saying, just want to let you know how much I appreciate you, which feels like shit in this particular moment. And she's like, who knows how many people are watching that video of me? Oh no. She emails the people and she's like, can you please take my video down? They're like, you've already started earning money and you already got paid and people are already watching it, so no, we will not be deleting the video. Deverick finds out that she posted the video by watching the website and it has 6,000 views. He searches for a takedown link, what is a takedown link? Then he pulls up the number to his lawyer. I wanted that video taken down like yesterday. His lawyer's like, sure, I'll get it taken down. Is this a student of yours? And I'm like, why would the lawyer ask that question when it could be possibly incriminating? But okay. The lying little shit had posted the video anyway, and I'd be damned if I'd let a bunch of perverted fucks watch her like that. Oh my god, I wish all of these people would get eaten by the sharks or the worms or both at the same time. But don't worry, his lawyer's on the case. He'd once taken down a darknet site on behalf of a client in a matter of minutes, a task the FBI had failed to accomplish for months. Honestly, it wouldn't have surprised me if the guy had ties to Anonymous the way he so swiftly got shit done. How cool. It's awesome. And then the video is no longer there. If she was that desperate for money, she'd have to find another way of getting it. So you know that a student is desperate for money, a student that you know is here on a scholarship, and instead of giving a shit about that, you're like, I just don't want anybody to see her the internet. So cool, buddy. So awesome. Definitely not rooting for you to get eaten by sharks.
Nothing you say will change anything!
I refuse to let a whole population of swinging dicks ogle her. I'd fuck over every person who ever posted there and burn the site down before I'd let that happen. Here's a question for you. Why? You don't even know her. You've talked to her for all of 2 seconds. My head couldn't leave it alone. The visuals of men getting off to her spun through my brain, my unsettled brain like a wicked web. My hands tightened into fists. I can't make sense of it either, buddy. I don't know what's up with you. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me either. Meanwhile, in the past, his father was looking for his son. He beat a bunch of guys trying to learn what happened to his son. They wanted something in exchange for Cademan, and his dad said no. And it wasn't money. I don't really know what it was. His dad's like, it's none of your fucking business. You've ruined my life the day you took your first breath and she died. Now, Cademan, you're no son of mine. Bartlett, whatever his name is, the prisoner is like pleading for his life. And of course, Deverick cannot be appealed to. There's nothing left in me to appeal to. Only a bottomless hollow in which to cast his useless tears. My heart was a graveyard. Your heart is a graveyard, except when it comes to 19-year-olds posting themselves on the internet, I guess. I don't know. Spencer, Paul Walker guy, asks her, hey, will you attend a charity event with me? She's not super comfortable with this. He's like, I'll buy your dress as a treat.
That is such a classic Spencer line.
She then, in her reading the history in her work study, learns that Deverick's father might have been doing the Crixon study. And so she digs deeper and finds that the Crixon study was a project aimed to test an inoculation said to reverse the effects of insulin-dependent diabetes. Apparently, whatever was given to the women targeted the body's immunity, blocking the lymphocytes that attacked insulin-secreting pancreatic beta cells, a possible cure for diabetes, except for the tragic outcome that quickly shut down the project, which was 6 of the women dying, 2 of them disappearing, including one of them, which was Andrea Kepling. She asks the guy running her work study, do we have any information on the Crixon project? And he says, yeah, but those texts are restricted. And she's like, well, there has to be more information because Melisandre told her about the Crixon project, so there has to be information somewhere else. Meanwhile, she hears in the library Dr. Gilchrist, the guy that Deverick was previously having a sexual relationship with, being like, Deverick, please, one more time, I promise, and then I'll never call you again. Let's just do it one more time. So Lilia gets him out of this by saying, hey, I have those books that you were looking for. And then when they get out of this conversation with Gilchrist, she's like, I want to ask you about Andrea Kepling's autopsy. I know you performed it. How did she get noctisoma if all she was doing was here for a diabetes test, like a testing on a cure for diabetes? And then she showed up at Lippincott's house saying, you put worms in me. You are a confused moth dancing about a wild flame, blind to the incomprehensible danger of your curiosities, he says. I came here to find answers, Professor. I'm not afraid to ask questions. At what cost? Your scholarship, your future, your life? Is that a threat? Yes. You have no fucking idea. Wait, you have no idea who you're fucking with. I'd been cornered by terrified by men before. This almost felt like an invitation. Who am I fucking with? It's fascinating how you can be so meek and so bold at the same time. Is it? It's not that compelling. Not even Dr. Death can intimidate me at this point.
Fear can be a very good thing, Mona. It can keep you from underestimating people.
He goes and talks to Lippincott, Dr. Lippincott, Spencer's dad, and Lippincott's like, we have a problem. The girl is a problem. She's a spitting image of her mother. Her mother is the missing woman, the runaway in your father's fucked up study. And Deverick's like, I was hoping he would remain obtuse enough to not know that connection. And I'm like, you knew that connection? And you didn't like divulge that to her? You're a bad person. You don't care that she is in the same place that your dad put worms in her mom's belly or something, maybe, or was testing on her and then she went missing and a bunch of other women died, but you care that she puts her vagina on the internet? Okay, that makes total sense. She's here for a reason, Deverick. She undoubtedly trying to dig up information. I mean, she was invited here and you know that because you know that the guy was like, hey, she wrote this paper and then we should invite her. Okay. When she digs up information, I'll once again find myself in front of the firing squad. Your fucking father ruined my life with this. Ruined it! He punched the air like a madman. Ruined it! Relax, she's merely curious about the organism. Gilchrist fucking assigned her Crixon Hall. Do you think that was an accident? Granting her a semester here was a fucked idea. You're only just now coming to this conclusion, Deverick says. I had no idea who the hell she was. Her last name isn't the same. Wasn't like her transcript arrived with a fucking family album. Why don't you look into people who are interested in learning about noctisoma, though? I wouldn't have just, like, let somebody... Like, why this college, of all places, would she get accepted to? And then you know what? Never mind. It doesn't matter. This is very Gothicana, but whatever. Deverick's like, she signed a non-disclosure. Lippincott asks if she has any other family. Her mother passed away. Deverick is just trying to find a cure for himself for the issue of him not being able to feel anything. He also has this, like, insatiable desire to... something, Book's words. And when he takes his concoction that he makes to treat himself, it gives him an intense surge of dopamine that stokes his libido. And of course he watches her video that she made that he saved to his phone. And of course, like, her video is so hot in comparison to him having sex with Gilchrist, whose rhythm was always off and didn't do the way that he wanted. Of course, every woman is just not good enough and every man is just not good enough until these two meet each other. So he beats the hot dog.
You were a hot dog.
Oh, yeah, I was the best damn hot dog.
To the video of Lilia, I never made a sound when I came. Oh, that would be emasculating, I'm sure. Lilia Vespertine had become more than a student. She was a serious problem. I mean, you already said she was a headache, so. Barletta's starting to lose it because, you know, he has literal worms inside of him.
Did you think I looked feral?
But also, the worms make you ejaculate. So he's just ejaculating all over the wall. Just great. It's just glitter paste, if you're familiar with this channel's lore. Glitter paste all over the wall. It's great. In the past, Deverick went into his dad's office and his dad has a box that has a camcorder, and it's a video of a 17-year-old caveman getting roasted alive with like flame torch thingies on his legs, and then it's a box of ashes. So they assume that Cademan's dead, except he's not.
Yeah, it's a lot to process. Would you like a sedative?
As requested, we've returned your son, says the note in the box. And then Deverick turns to Barletta and says, I find it amusing you listen to the story as if it's the first time you've heard it. This was the only like good part of this book. And you come to find out that Barletta was the guy who drove Cademan to the drop-off point. I was told I'd be taking some kid to a place on the east side. I didn't know who for or for why, yet you did it anyway. I need a name only you can give me. Tell me the name of the man you handed my brother off to. And it was Angelo. It's all connected. And then he starts seeing a shadowy figure inside of his lab that keeps disappearing. She talks to Melisandre and she's like, I want to know what you know and how. Melisandre complains about Spencer again. Why do you hate Spencer so much? I get it. You don't give a shit what the freak has to say. The freak, you're literally the dean's daughter. Melisandre is the dean's daughter. And she calls her like emo Jesus in a black dress. Good grief. This is the point where all the other students are being normal students and she just is too cool for the other schoolmates. They write down their equations and often yell bazinga from the Big Bang Theory whenever they solve it correctly. Cool. So her and Melisandre go off together and Mel explains that this college used to be a place where like experiments were made, where exorcisms were done on children, when the place was a monastery, and she gets access to the no access journals in the library because her dad is a donor and the chairman of the board of overseers. So then she gets introduced to Catalina, who's also known as Kat, and this other guy, Bryson, who I think was the gay guy from the beginning of the book that she met. Bryson, Briceson. Good grief. Kat is reading The Antichrist by Nietzsche. Cool. Welcome to Anon Amos. Anon Amos. Cool. We're kind of the underground version of the Snopes here at the university. And they know about the Crixon project because those files were stolen by two computer science majors back in 2005. They hid the files down here, never speaking of them. Both were expelled the following year, but since then, this place has become a huge dumping ground for inaccessible information. The school has not caught on yet. For whatever facts you're looking for, now's the time to dig. And when you're done, you'll tell me what you supposedly know about one of the participants. So she looks through their files. She learns more about Dr. Bramwell, about the study he was doing on type 1 diabetes, and he was doing this because his wife had, Deverick's mom had type 1 diabetes, and they could possibly have a cure with the purified toxin derived from Noxosoma larvae. But then the study went bad for some reason, which we find out later, and the women had apparently submerged themselves into freezing waters willingly, except for two that went missing. And there's a picture of one of them, and it's her mother. Her mom's name was actually Vanessa Corbin, and Andrea Kepling, the lady who is dead and had an autopsy performed, her real name was June Galloway. They were both in the study. And this all happened in 2003, and she was born in the same year. Was I the reason my mother had left the study? If my mother was a participant, if she died based on these experiments, then I have a right to get answers. And they're all like, oh great, I knew it was a bad idea to invite an outsider. She probably reads vampire smut. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? I gave vampire smut that I read a couple months ago a higher rating than I'm giving this book. She's like, where'd my mom come from? How much had she lied about? The question seemed endless, but proved to be a motivator for my investigations. Yeah, no shit. She looks up the last name Corbin, and she finds that her grandparents, who lived on this island, are already dead. She's upset that her mom had lied to her. Her grandparents' house had been like foreclosed on. She's like, I wish I had had the money to buy it. Was it possible that my mother returned home for the funeral? Because there was a time when she went off to go see a doctor about B's eye, and then she came back here. Is it then that she got exposed to the Noxosoma worms? She asks Deverick, do you find that Noxosoma is prevalent in the locals? He says, not as a general rule. They have their own folklore surrounding the berries. They believe they're the poison of bad spirits and they tend to stay away from them. And he tells her, you need to stay out of trouble, Curious Moth. Curious Moth, a nickname, a fitting one too, given the fact that I had no intentions of avoiding the flame. Oh no, another Sleep Token reference, always in my brain. So she gets her dress that Spencer had made for her or something, and she's like, I can't wear this. He's gonna get the wrong idea. And the lady who gave her the dress says, that's the tragedy of women, isn't it? We deny ourselves beauty for the sake of misleading men. Oh, Lord. I'm more interested in the fact that this dude is only, like, justified because he's hot. Barletta, his corpse is in the lab with his eyes gouged out, and it wasn't Deverick that did this. Deverick is really nonchalant about this and be like, oh, that's kind of weird. I don't really understand.
There's nothing linking you to what happened with Dunhill.
His body's in the trunk of my car.
How you can just be like, chill. Who got in your lab? How? But I guess he just like doesn't care. She goes to the charity event with Spencer and she's like, this isn't a date, right? For the umpteenth time. There's a bunch of people. This is where the French comes up because Bramwell talks to a server who is like, basically asking like, do you want to go to bed with me? Or do you want to get out of here with me? And he answers her in French, just to like make him, I don't know, sound like somebody who everybody wants, when in reality, like, just because you're hot doesn't mean you're attractive. Like, as soon as you do something shitty, you are no longer attractive to me. This entire scene does not go well because it's a bunch of rich people being assholes. Then she ends up getting poisoned by the Noxberries. And Spencer has been previously accused of giving another student Noxberries. And it was Mel who accused him of that and said that he assaulted her. So that's not true, and we find that out later, and I don't like that we had like a fake assault accusation in this. I don't like that. And he's like, the cameras caught me carrying you out of there, so it's gonna look like I did something to you, so you're gonna need to tell them that I didn't do anything to you. And she's like, okay, well, make me your assistant and I will say that you didn't do anything to me. I want to work in your lab, I want to work on the toxin with you, and I want to be paid in cash for my time. Look at you, such a bold moth, far bolder than I gave you credit for. Make me your assistant and I'll make you the hero this time. Or I can lock you in the cell and toss the key. No one would find you, and after a while, no one would care. Run, bitch! Time to run! I'd forgotten the part where I hadn't confirmed whether or not he was a psycho killer.
But heroes aren't what they used to be anymore, so I got fascinated with the villain.
Does your villain lose in the end?
Okay, I don't like the use of the word psycho in this book. Like, in general, it happens a lot. But also, like, you're stupid. Both those things, very frustrating for me. You will take the money and what that I'm offering, and you will not say a word about this. I try to make sense of the fact that my professor had his hand on my throat, that he just started to lock me in a cell and toss the key.
I tell you, part of me thinks this is really self-destructive behavior. Most of me just thinks it's really hot.
And that I still had no intentions of accepting his offer. Perhaps I was the psycho. Imprisoning me doesn't cover your ass, she says as he's choking her. I knew the moment you arrived at this school that you were going to be a major fucking headache for me. You will not touch anything or venture where you're not wanted. Use the cadaver entrance only, and should you break the rules, I will make you regret the moment you just tried to blackmail me. Did you just threaten me, like with death that time? Don't fuck with me, Miss Vespertine. You want to play hardball? Know that mine are made of steel. Oh, brother. That sounds painful. Oh, come on! The girl was a problem. An annoying, beautiful problem. And he's like, I wish I could throttle her or kiss her. I couldn't tell which compelled me more. It's not that compelling. Please do neither. Since having found that video on her phone, I'd made a point of ignoring the girl. An impossibility as a general rule, particularly when she wore those short skirts that danced around what I imagined to be a pert ass. Please stop thinking about your student's ass. When she'd arrived to the gala the night before, though, looking like a walking aphrodisiac topped with whipped cream,
Slutting it up.
and catching the eye of every swinging dick she passed, something had snapped inside of me. I'd never wanted anything so badly in my life. Calling her beautiful was like calling the sun lukewarm. She'd blaze like the hottest part of a flame in that dress, and fuck me, I'd felt the heat. This is poetic? Good God. So he's like, hey, Lippincott, somebody was wearing ceremonial garb outside of the roost, and I think it was your son. Now, I didn't even know that Spencer was part of the roost. That's interesting. He's like, oh, you mean the night you gave my son a black eye? He insists that you were the one wearing the garb and that you punched him in the face and knocked him out cold. This is when you should be, there was another hint before this, but this is when I would be like, I have a twin brother. I never actually saw a body. And if somebody's accusing me of doing stuff I didn't do twice now, my twin brother's on the loose.
Well, you missed breakfast, but Mum's planning a special lunch.
But no, we don't do that. Cameras did pick up on you carrying Miss Vespertine to your vehicle. Dr. Langmore will be getting her side of the story. You have the audacity to insult our most generous donor in front of his wife at the charity thing. He was fondling Miss Vespertine's thigh while you were nibbling on your goddamn cheesecake, Lippincott. I don't care if he threw her on the table and ate her for dessert. The man has damn near carried this project with his funding. He can do whatever the hell he wants. So she talks to Langmore and she's like, yeah, I accepted a drink from Spencer. I think that I was given Knox berries. I'm the victim in this situation. Having to admit that, to actually use the V word, burned like acid on my tongue. Stop it! I have had this rant twice already this year. In this book, the something's cold and I don't know, whatever the fuck, and Apprentice to the Villain. Stop demonizing the word victim. It's not a word that you need to hyphenate to the V word. Victim is not a dirty word. It's not a bad state of being. It's not a pejorative. It is something that happens to some people. I'm so sick of books doing this. Like, if this is supposed to be empowering, like, I would never call myself a victim. I'm a survivor. I can be both, and you need to stop making victim derogatory. Ugh! So this book was like pretty bad, a little bit better than Gothicana, but still pretty bad. And then that took it down a notch. And then later with the sex worker thing, it went just at the same level as Gothicana. 1 star. You demonize the word victim and you automatically lose a star. A whole star! Gone! So she says that she thinks Spencer did something to her and that there's a masked man on campus. Her and Dr. Deverick start working together in his lab. She starts learning more about Noctisoma, and somehow they start feeling things towards each other, though I don't know when the fuck this happened. He explains to her that he has von Erich's disease, and she's like, oh, that's why you're working with the toxin, because you want it to help you fix your disorder. After them working together like one time, she has a dream about him, or a sexual fantasy about him. I'd masturbated a few times in my life, but it had never felt so good as that. I just fingered myself to thoughts of my professor, who also happened to be my boss. He had to be at least 30-something. As a 30-something, if I were a professor, you would not catch me doing this with my student. And like the aforementioned victim conversation, I was 17 when I got assaulted by my literal boss, who was 28. And I just can't imagine doing that. I don't know. This is starting to give me the ick on like a personal level, especially with the word victim then like getting demonized on top of it. Everything about this is giving me the ick. I like that he was older, more mature. I'd always been attracted to older men. And then it's talking about the fact that when she was 14 going on 15, she started a relationship with an 18-year-old who she calls Ghost Boy. He'd spent our tutoring sessions trying to get me to jerk him off. And when he turned 18, the dynamic of our interactions changed. I thought it would have turned him off knowing he could have gotten in trouble, but since he'd been considered an adult and I was still a minor, I'm getting the ick actively. On the contrary, it seemed to make him much more interested. Somehow, I'd found it a turn on too. This is a case for the FBI. So they continue working together. They start flirting and he's like, under different circumstances, I might have pursued you. And she's like, under different circumstances, I might have let you. But not the other girls in his class because she's not like other girls. She's Corvina. Oops, I mean Lilia. I can't tell the difference anymore. Professor Gilchrist then gives her a bad grade for like comma issues. She's like, this won't do if you're ever going to conduct medical research and ask and do like grant writing because this looks like shit. The arrogant smile that followed sank into my gut like a rusty fork. Why would you swallow a fork, let alone a rusty one? Then Spencer comes and talks to her and he's like, I didn't try to hurt you. I would never hurt you. It was Deverick. He took off that mask and he beat the ever-living shit out of me and no one believes me. And at this point I'm like, oh, very obviously now it's his brother. And she asks, did you drug Melisandre previously? And he says, yes, but I was just trying to find out what she knew about Jenny, the missing girl, and Bramwell. Jenny was Melisandre's former roommate. I saw you with Gilchrist. I saw her touch you because Gilchrist was like feeling up on Spencer, but Gilchrist is blackmailing Spencer and he's like, you need to stay away from Deverick. He's gross. He's weird. He's following you to class. Meanwhile, her sister's tuition still is not fully paid. And also the worms are starting to grow teeth more and more.
Oh, me? Nah, I'm just a worm.
One of them bites Bramwell. She tells him about like these stuff with Gilchrist. Gilchrist told her, you need to go back where you belong. And also Deverick is like, you're stronger than them. And I'm like, why? Because she's poor? Like you treat everybody like shit and you're rich. What do you care?
Why can't you give him a chance? He's smart, he's cute, his dad owns like half of Rhode Island.
He has a burn on him and she has to help him with his burn because he can't feel it. And then she sees the body of Barletta. She starts to freak out and Bramwell's like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And then he grabs her and he can feel her. He's like, I feel everything. You're the first thing I felt in a long time. The last thing I felt was my brother's hand just before he was taken away and killed. You feel good. And then he kisses her and it says, I'd never been kissed by a man. Boys, yes, but never a man. Not even Ghost Boy, who was technically an adult. Oh, ew, gross. He's like, don't talk, I shouldn't have done this. And don't talk about what you saw in there. You're performing clinical trials on yourself, aren't you? Are you infected with the worms? No, of course not. The toxin is purified. So you can't become sick from it? Not at all. She's like, all right, I won't tell anybody. And for some reason, they stay the night together. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. He tells her about his brother. She tells him about her sister. And then he asks how long until she turns 21. But don't worry, it's because he wants to give her some alcohol. Oh wait, that's still gross. He lies to her about who the guy in the autopsy room was, which is that, you know, it's totally fine for him to lie to her. Then they fall asleep and he's dreaming of her and saying clearly sexual stuff. Oh wait, no, first she has a dream about her mom. Or is it her mom? Or I don't know. Oh, that's right. It's the guy on the autopsy. It's Barletta. Your mother is waiting for you at the bottom of the lake. So basically she's having that dream that Anastasia has from Anastasia. And so then he stays in the same room as her. Can you stay with me? And then of course he's only wearing, briefs, which is appropriate for student and professor, certainly.
There's no crime here. Not the way I see it.
I couldn't help taking in the whole of his physique. I'm sure you couldn't. It just jumped at you. She sees a brand of what looked like to be 2 crossed medical staffs and a 7 contained in a circle. What is that? A mistake I made early on in my college career. Like a fraternity thing? Something like that. Great. We love a man with secrets. Then he has a dream about her while they're laying next to each other. He tells her to touch him, so she does, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? So then she tries to leave, and he says, you're not going anywhere at this hour. Do you have any idea how hard it is to lie next to you? It's killing me. You're the first thing I felt in years, Lilia. All I want to do is touch you. Then touch me. You're a sickness inside of me that begs never to be cured, infecting me with this unshakable craving for things I shouldn't want. Then let me go. No. he says. Okay, great. If anyone found out about us, I'd lose everything, she thinks. I'd be first to return to Connor and Angelo and the life I fucking hated. But I yearn for the stupid girl who just needed a break, a moment of recklessness. See, actually, I could see that. Like, that characterization makes sense to me. It's just the rest of the book is so bad, it's swallowed. We need to stop. Fuck, I can't do this. His hand betrayed his words because he's still beating the hot dog. Tell me to stop, Lilia, I'm begging you. I hate when they always put it on the woman. You tell me to stop. You do it. You tell me to stop. I'll stop when you say stop. You're gonna destroy me and I won't stop you. And he calls her sensations that he's been robbed of for so long. He touches her down there and the word seam gets used again twice within a like 2-paragraph section. Why do you have to taste like a sweet forbidden fruit? You're killing me, Lilia. Couldn't come any faster. Keel over, Mr. How long till you turn 21? And she's like, I've thought about this before. Tell me everything, every detail. I want to hear what you do when you're alone. Then she says that she thinks about him doing stuff with his fingers, including choking her. Tell me, little moth, have I ever eaten your pussy in these fantasies? Not yet. I've never done that before. He asks if she's a virgin, and not technically because, you know, Ghost Boy, the 18-year-old, has this girl ever had sex with somebody who is like an appropriate age for her? I'm not a virgin, but I haven't done much. He's like, I'm not gonna be your first anything. And then she says his first name, and then he's like, never mind, I'm now down to clown.
I didn't know I was going to fall in love with you.
Don't. Like, what the fuck? Oh, you're right. It was like a secret password. Instead of saying open sesame, all she had to do was say, Devrick. I'm not fucking you tonight, but I am gonna dine on this obnoxiously wet. I'm going to enjoy every minute of knowing I'm the only man who's ever tasted you. I'm gonna ruin you. Oh, here we go. It's always with the I'm gonna ruin you. Please. It's always with the greatest dick to ever dick down. Any boy who comes after me will leave you deeply unsatisfied and you'll be left own fingers, desperate to remember the time you had your professor's face between your This is almost identical to Gothicana. She's like, you're not conventionally handsome. I'd say that Jack is conventionally handsome. And he's like, why did you hold hands with him coming out of the woods when, you know, they were running away from the shack in the woods? And he says, whatever this is, it cannot happen. I'm dangerous. Girls who tangle with me dance with death.
I don't fit in.
I want to f you in front of that boy you held hands with. That took a turn. He's like, this is madness. And if she, you know, was supposed to respond with something normal, she doesn't. She says, if this is madness, then drown me in it. And then they start making out, and I died inside. The molecules in her body recognize the molecules in his, it said. Great. Damn you, Lilia. God damn you. So then he goes down on her. She says, I'm nervous. And he says, you should be. Again, call the FBI. Your professor is about to eat your There's a whole host of reasons why that's fucked up, but I'm too far gone to stop myself. There's nothing I want more than to feel that obnoxiously pink of yours against my tongue, and we will never do this again after tonight. Do you understand? So then he heads downstairs. He'd ruined me, destroyed me. There's slurping sounds and growls that are lewd and filthy. I learned to stimulate myself on my own, but it never felt like this, of course. I ground my hips into his face, my professor's face, in italics. Then he stops before she can arrive, and she like begs him to let her. You're a salacious little nymph, aren't you? Turn over. Did you think I'd feel sorry for you, that I'd be gentle? I feel this torture every fucking time you walk into a room. I don't feel sorry for you. In fact, it worms my... What? Worms. All I can think are worms. Brain worms. Them next, I hope. Warms my dirty bastard soul to know you ache this way. So then he like brings her back to the edge, goes back and forth until she's like wanting to die, which this was fine in Lights Out. Totally fine, in fact. Happy for them. It was also fine in The Dare by Harley LaRue. Here, this guy gives me the ick. I can't stand this. She tells him, don't tease me anymore, and he says, the way you tease me every day with those short skirts and those pouty fuckable lips and that obnoxious lipstick. Oh, something's obnoxious here, and it is not her lipstick. You don't dress like a priest yourself. You don't think every girl in class dreams of you? I don't give a damn about every other girl. There's only one who crosses my mind a fuck ton more than she should. So I'm gonna finish you, Lilia. I'm gonna give you the release you've been craving, and I won't touch you again, but this pussy belongs to me. You let any other undeserving prick near it and I will cut out his tongue and send it to you in a specimen jar. You know what? Do it. Do it. Go ahead. At least then maybe you'll rot in prison and then I won't have to hear from you again. You're the worst. Then it says he's lapping up the fluid spilling out of her, which is a nasty sentence. Then she goes down on him and it says, take as much as you can. I need to those pouty lips. Calls her a good girl, then asks, what are you doing to me? What do you mean? What are you doing? You're the one who asked. Didn't she drink earlier after you asked if she was 21? He like holds her and makes her promise not to tell anybody. And he's like, this is about you because they'll make you look like an impoverished spare my good name. So then after this, he is so like unmanageably corny with an H, and he's like walking around, including in class, with a rager. My body mourned her. She was a sorceress, she had to be. She was the warmth of the sun on a cold and rotting corpse, the first breath after a lifetime of death. Oh, fuck off. So he, with a rager, goes and yells at Gilchrist about her giving Lilia a bad grade. And she's like, have dinner with me. He's like, no. And then she accuses him of being inappropriate with Lilia, which he in fact is. And then while he has a rager in the classroom, another one of his students takes a picture of him and posts it with the caption, yes, daddy death, and zooms in on his pants to the bulge. Not like it was her fault though, when the man oozed sex and raw masculinity out of every pore of his body. So he won't even like look at her and she's really upset about this.
Miss Montgomery, what can I do for you?
And they run into each other and he's like, what we did cannot be repeated. Then days after this, he's like, you can't work here anymore. I don't want you working in my lab. He hands her a check, presumably a check for the wages I'd earned for the measly few days I'd worked. Go, Lilia, and please don't come back tomorrow, he says. She's like begging him to let her still work there. You'll notice that we never see the rooks. We never hear about the birds again. We never hear about her collecting little morbid things like bird bones and teeth again. And we also don't see Anon Amos, the Mel's little group. Like these things just get thrown in here and then we don't see them again, just like Gothicana. So she goes to an appointment with Deverick because she's like, I want to see you at office hours.
And what happens to those people who are unable to act on their feelings?
They get very frustrated.
Or I'll go see Ross instead, his assistant. And she wears the lipstick that she knows that he likes because I wasn't every other student. I was the one who'd given her professor a job and carried his check for $5 grand in her bag. His check to her was for $5 grand, hoping that she would like pay off her, sister school shit. He was moody, like rainy days and bitter coffee, sensual whispers in dark corners, and the slow burn of fine whiskey. A torment I both hated and welcome at the same time. Boo! Spencer runs into her and lets her know, hey, by the way, I found out that Dr. Lippincott isn't my father. And I'm like, oh, so undoubtedly this means that Dr. Lippincott is somebody's daddy if he's not Spencer's. And then he kisses her and she's like, hey, what the fuck? He asked her to meet him tonight and she doesn't plan to.
See you around.
No. You won't.
She goes and talks to Deverick with the lipstick on, and he's like, cash the fucking check. Why, so you can pity me? I'll pay you back. You won't, you can't. Why are you doing this to me? What am I doing? You push and you pull. I feel like I'm being torn apart.
That's what I was to you. I was research.
There isn't a sharp enough blade to carve you out of my head, Lilia. I'd have to tear out my goddamn eyeballs to keep from noticing your every move, who you talk to, who you kiss. He saw them. Who cares? We're just professor and student, just like before. Isn't that what you wanted? We're more than that and you know it. Wait, so now you're back to wanting more? And then he tells her, for the love of Christ, stop biting your lip.
You're a little loud.
You're a little crazy.
I'm fucking sick when it comes to you. He says he thinks about breaking Spencer's neck and that he's losing his mind. And I'm like, bud, you have already lost it. Ship has sailed, I fear. She's like, oh, he's not like totally not into me. He aches and burns as much as I do. Oh my God.
I couldn't stop staring at that little cleft in your chin, thinking about how I wanted to trace it with my finger.
I'm not one of your goddamn classmates, Lily. I'm your professor. Your future could be destroyed. Only if we get caught. She sucks on his finger, and then he's like, stop making me think about fucking you every hour of the day. I stepped past him for the door. a hand on the grip of the nape of my neck. He slammed his lips into mine in a kiss that was neither gentle nor calm. Well, that's implied. If it's not gentle, then it's also not calm. Okay. He plundered her angrily. Of course he does. And they talk about how to get away with boning without getting caught.
Fraternizing on my Nana's sofa.
Which they do barely at all before they finally get caught. They plan to meet in the library rotunda. So they both show up, and whatever she's wearing, he's like, if you ever show up to class like this, I'll spank your bare. Gross. Do you hear that, Lilia? How your greedy little he weeps for me. Look at the mess you've made on my fingers. This is literally like every other smut scene I've ever read. There is nothing new here, and all of it is gross. This is what I see at night when I'm drenched in sweat, stroking my thoughts of you. He says that he's not a gentle lover, and then his hot dog is called monstrous. Physics told me he'd never get that thing inside me without some serious damage, the way he casually held it in his palm like a lethal weapon. Good God. Don't ruin my favorite 90s movies. I don't share. If anyone else so much as looks at this, I'll take pleasure in dissecting him, starting with his eyeballs. What is with you and the eyeballs? Deverick was a different breed altogether. As he'd said, a man, not a boy. I know. I get it. Thanks. That's why you wore this skirt, isn't it? Why you tease your professor to the point of madness. Madness? During a scene? Gothicana, is that you? I recognize you, Runix. I know your work. Before he puts his in, he says, this is our madness. Okay. And she thinks his feels like a battering ram. He keeps saying she's such a good girl, and then she says she has magic eyes and a magic I have curled into myself and died at this point. God damn it, Lilia. God damn you. Why does he always say that? Then she's feeling a bunch of emotions, and he's like, should always make you feel things. And then there are people that are trying to come into the room, and they're listening to these people on the other side of the wall while he's quietly, you know, and she's watching them bone in a mirror. He calls her sublime, and then when he arrives, it says, that looks like enough to impregnate a village. I despise this. I don't just hate it, I despise it. He's like, I'm not gonna f you again tonight, but I will f you again. Oh my God, that sounds like a threat. Then they talk about Noctisoma again. Remember the worms that we're actually here for? Did you forget? Me too. And they talk about the fact that the natives of the island who inhabited it centuries ago used to use stones, sharpened stones for teeth, early dental care. Were they cannibals? Some believe they were. They were said to have silver glowing eyes and beastly fangs. Noctisoma? I suspect so. This feels a little, I don't think that was a good choice. I don't think we should have depicted a native tribe like this. I just don't think that was a good idea. Do you think the stone served another purpose though? Bryson told me that they isolated a new chemical from the black stones called castion. They found it in the gizzards of seagulls and ravens. Earlier, the assistant professor told us that some birds tend not to become infected with Noctisoma. What if it's a cure for Noctisoma? He's like, I'm not looking to cure Noctisoma. I'm looking for an autoimmune therapy. He's like, you can establish a hypothesis though. Had someone investigated even the smallest possibility of an antitoxin, I might have been able to save my mother. My condition doesn't afford me much time to venture off into other avenues, as noble as they might be. She's like, okay, well perhaps I can study the gastroliths and the blackstones, and you can study the toxins, and we'll compare our studies every night in bed. After sex, I assume, he says. No one wants to talk about worms during sex. That's gross. Oh my God. I'd rather talk about the worms than the sex at all. How about that? Have we considered that? Then she asks if he's jealous of the boys in her class, which is definitely a conversation that we had in Gothicana. And he brings up being jealous of her classmates, you know, the kids who are actually her age, again, and says, I'm gonna make you come like a firecracker around my cock. I hate it here. This is fucking ridiculous. He says, at finding out she is a virgin, you chose the wrong guy for your first time, little crow, but it's too late now. I'm going to f you so raw you'll never get me out. This pussy is mine. Jail, jail, jail. Jealousy is a callow schoolboy's emotion that ends in hard feelings and bloody noses. What I feel for you, Lilia, would destroy lives. Wish it would destroy yours first.
I'm in purgatory.
Dr. Gilchrist comes and talks to her and says, hey, I knew your mother because I was working on the Crixon project when I was younger. Your mother was part of the control group. She was a native Dracadian who lived here all her life. Dr. Bramwell Sr. hypothesized that she might have some natural resistance to the toxin. One night I was asked by Dr. Bramwell to stay after to input some data. I was typing away. I overheard your mother speaking with a certain doctor about his indiscretions leading to her dilemma. She was pregnant.
Pregnant? How'd that happen?
Figure pretty much the usual way.
And she's like, oh my God, is Deverick my brother? Which doctor? Who got my mother pregnant?
What's up with your mom? She's a slut. Let's just go to sleep.
And Gilchrist is like, I'm not going to hand over this information without something in return. I want you to leave after the semester, like finish and leave quietly. And I also want information on the group called Anon Amos. And she also says that Dr. Deverick visited her yesterday, which is again not Deverick. She's like, you give me a name and I'll tell you if you're fucking your own brother. Tell me who's in Anon Amos. So she tells her, okay, a girl named Kat is in Anon Amos. And she confirms that Deverick and her do not have the same brother. But the file contains more than just who is her father, because she has the files that were supposed to be destroyed by the study because she was tasked with destroying them and then didn't. You give me a significant name of Anon Amos and I'll give you a significant name, as in who specifically is her father. She says, okay, Melisandre. She sells out Melisandre, who has honestly been nothing but nice to her up to this point, for no reason. But this is fine. This is passed off as fine. It's fine that Lilia does this because Melisandre is a bad guy later. It's still shitty that Lilia did this. It's still shitty. So she tells her, okay, your father is Dr. Lippincott. He f***ed your mother, got her pregnant, and Bramwell kicked him out of the project. That's why you invited me here. Why you kept telling me to meet with him. It had nothing to do with my paper, my academics. How did you even know who I was? All I had to do was Google your name. As I said, you are a spitting image of her. You're a horrible person. I wasn't. Not until you came along. I think we also had a jealous other teacher in Gothicana. Wasn't there another teacher who was into Vad who he wasn't interested in because he was interested in Corvina Clem? I think that happened there too. Deverick takes Lilia swimming.
Well, that was a waste of water.
You know, for her biggest fear. And she gets cut on a shell and he goes to go get a first aid kit from his car. And then he has a seizure. Birds, ravens circling overhead, an omen of death. This is it. I fucking wish. Also, not the ravens showing up again. This is Gothicana. I'll never be free. So then she injects him with the shit that he makes himself. I won't let you fucking die. Deverick, wake up, please. And because she gives him the injection, he gets super as he does. Get the fuck over here, he says. So they're about to do it in his car. He tells her to get a condom and then he says, the dangerous turbulence in his eyes sent my heart in a frenzy. He looked at me as though he were fantasizing his baby in me. Ugh, no.
Don't you love the thought of a little mini me or mini Ian running around? Not really.
No. Nope. Back it up. Disgusting. I'm not sure that there's anything that screams I'm a mom with a booktube channel harder than me needing 3 separate sessions to finish film this video. It is dark out, so I had to put the ring light back up, which I had semi-retired because my migraines as I get older, much like my huffy lower lids, are getting worse. I'm starting to resent this video for not being done already. We are 81% into the book. Let's fucking finish this. It's 9 o'clock at night. Child is asleep in the next room. My other child in the other room, and I wish that I was also asleep in the other room, but here we are. I'm like that TikTok sound that everybody's using right now from Hamilton. Alexander, come back to sleep. And I'm like, I just need to write something down, except I just need to finish filming another fucking 45 minutes of this, assumedly. All right, let's try to wrap this shit up by 9:45, shall we? Let's see, it is 8:58, motherfucker. So let's try to finish this by 9:45 at the latest. Do you understand me? So they are boinking in his car out in public right after he, let's just call it crashed out. You're the fever in my veins, he said through clenched teeth as he drove into me with furious determination, an incurable madness I can't shake. I feel like we've said madness enough. I feel like we've done enough to make ourselves indistinguishable from Gothicana, and I feel like that's enough now. Don't you think it's enough? I think it's enough, personally. F***ing you is the only thing that keeps me sane, Lilia. I disagree because I don't think you have been normal a moment in your life. And I don't mean like the clinical insanity. He's using it in a more colloquial sense. And I think that if we're talking colloquially about how this man is, colloquially, he's fucked up, and he has remained fucked up and been fucked up since the beginning of the book, since, I don't know, probably around 18 or so. And he continues to actually get worse. So I would say she's actually poison to him. I'm not sure any other person wouldn't be. I think instead of living on this island, he should go live on a separate island where there is nobody else and just simply exist there until or unless he decides to walk into the ocean and get eaten by a shark, which is my preference for him. Thank you. You are a merciless vision of perfection. While I said, oh yeah, then they finish and it says, while I settled back on his thighs, he continued to thrash his hot dog. He's thrashing, Book's words, his hot dog. And seconds later, hot jets painted my thighs. Ew. As if he was marking me, making me as his. Making me as his? Making me, I think that meant marking me as his, and then we just got confused and we didn't edit the sentence. Really, on a line level, this wasn't so bad, like especially after reading Age of Scorpius, like nothing could be worse on a line level than Age of Scorpius. So I'm not surprised to like find a couple of typos or like some punctuation errors here, but that's not the problem. The problem is ew. The problem is ew. The sight of it made my womb clench. Oh, brother.
You're scaring my ovaries.
This is beginning to feel like more than just sex for me. So why does that scare you? Because I can't see past the void, and it feels like this is when things fall apart. True, so true. I will never hurt you, Lilia. In fact, I'll rain hell on anyone who ever hurts you again. I loved him. Ew, why? Girl, why? Tell me why. Tell me why. I hate this man. The next day, Lilia is having trouble with logging into registration. Mel walks up being a huge piece of shit, and she's like, perhaps daddy didn't like getting called out. Lilia Lippincott has a catchy ring to it. So Gilchrist, turns out, had just traded one scandal for another. I don't know why I thought I could trust you, Covington trash. My blog has never been so popular as it is now. Over 4,000 hits in a matter of 2 hours. And next week's scandal is going to be an absolute delicious follow-up. Provost's alleged daughter, fucking Dr. Death. So it's actually fine that Lilia sold Mel out because Mel bad. And Mel has a photo of Dr. Bramwell's car and Lilia's hand pressed up against the glass. How do we know it's Lilia's hand? Because she has a tattoo of Memento Mori on her wrist. And also they know it's his car because nobody else on campus drives a black Maserati Ghibli. That's great. She's making all of us with wrist tattoos look bad. Mine's a cloud. I'm getting tired and going off on tangents. Sorry. Why? Seriously, you rat me out and you're asking why, Mel says. She was withholding information on everything. My father, my mother. Oh, boo fucking who. You tried to get me kicked out. Lucky for me, Lady Gilchrist was willing to strike a deal. Lady Gilchrist? Why are we calling her lady? Yeah, she struck a deal with me too. Good luck with that. You're pathetic, Melisandre says. True. You have no sense of self-preservation. True. It's fitting though. You and Spencer as siblings, a whole pathetic family. I mean, true. I don't know. Melisandre's kind of eating here. Spencer, for reasons I couldn't explain, I wanted to talk to him right then. What do you mean for reasons you couldn't explain? You just figured out, you just put the pieces together right now that he's your brother. That's it. That's the reason. It's self-explanatory, actually. So then Ding, I'm so tired. Dean Langmore shows up at her door. He's like, pack your things. You have to leave immediately. She punches Melisandre in the face. Tears wobbled in my eyes. Man, the writing in this chapter leaves something to be desired. Tears wobbled in your eyes? The wobbling? Are you an anime character? So she goes back home to live with Connor and Bea and Angelo. Nocticadia was my comfort, my home. Not this, not here. I'm sure her eyes are wobbling again, but the text doesn't explicitly say it. So this is the part where the book really fucking pissed me off. Meanwhile, where's Deverick, do you suppose? Where do you suppose that our male main character, our man of the hour, the guy that all of the reviews are like, I want a Deverick, where do you suppose that man is? You want to take a gander, a little guessy guess? He is prowling, Book's words, the streets of downtown Thresher Bay along a strip known as Meth Mile, where the homeless shot up drugs and prostitution was rampant. Eyes scanning, I searched for my next test subject, so I'm thinking that he's looking for somebody specific, like he did last time. Wouldn't you know it? Wrong. It wasn't her choice of attire that told me she was a prostitute, but the way she immediately sauntered over and leaned into the passenger window of my car. Hello, handsome. Please tell me you're looking for some company. It wasn't personal. I'd only opted for her over a drug addict because I didn't care to drag around a half-conscious body. Are you willing to go outside of the city? Depends on how much cash you got. He has a wad of cash. For that much, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Surely, that wouldn't have included infecting her with parasites.
That's what I was to you. I was research.
Now, at this point, I'm still thinking, what did this woman do to him? Was she involved in, his brother being kidnapped and he assumes still murdered? An uncharacteristic guilt tore at my conscience. To some extent, killing had become natural to me, biological, maybe even genetic, and dared I say, fascinating to observe, except for the fact that, unlike the others, she hadn't done anything to deserve my cruelty. She was innocent, and because of that, I took no joy in the thought of killing her. I didn't have time to shop around for my next subject, though. There was a small window of opportunity before the next batch of eggs would hatch. And with the information I had received about Angelo DeLuca, I might have never tracked the asshole down. So, just so we're clear, you are falling in love with a girl 13 years your junior, who you know is there to search for answers about her mother, who either your father or another doctor clearly filled full of worms, and other women full of worms who then died by suicide. And you have previously, up to this point, done this as well to people who you thought deserved it, but now you're doing the same thing that ruined the life of the woman you're falling in love with, and you're just like, oh well. And instead of being like, oh, I'm sick, I couldn't possibly do this, what was I thinking? And thinking, wow, I'm doing the same thing that my dad or somebody else did to her mom. He's just like, this is your love interest? Like, I feel like even for dark romance, that's too fucking far. And like within the rules that this book has set, that feels too fucking far. And then all of the sudden, I couldn't do it. I couldn't fucking do it because all I could think about, all that mattered to me was the girl. The beautiful girl with her autumn hair and eyes that reminded me of both the sea and the sky. And she was everything. The earth, the sun, the moon, the air I breathed. What I felt for Lilia wasn't healthy beyond simple obsession. It was sickening possession, savage and rapacious, bordering on violence. What it is illogical because you just picked up a sex worker to test on her, even though you know, her mom. Okay, anyway, Dean Langmore calls him and lets him know that Lilia has been kicked out of school. Langmore's like, I had nothing to do with this. Deverick's like, give me her fucking address. I don't think that's appropriate. Give me the address, I don't care. He's terrible, he's the worst. And so he just kicks this poor woman out of his car, doesn't apologize for wasting her time, and, almost literally killing her. He tells her to get the fuck out of my car. It's great. It's fantastic. Back at home, Lilia finds a letter from her mother. I've lied to you and I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. My name is Vanessa Corbin. Before you were born, I met a charming doctor who convinced me to join a study at the university to help cure my diabetes. We fell in love, but he was married at the time, so things were complicated. He asked that I terminate the pregnancy. The mere suggestion of such a thing tore at my heart. I refused, a decision that angered both him and my father. Your father threatened that if I decided to go through with the pregnancy, he would ensure that I'd never get custody of you. I was young and stupid and scared, so I fled. I went home for my mother's funeral. I know you thought I was looking into surgery for B, but telling you the truth at the time was complicated. Was it complicated or was it just for the sake of convenience for the plot? The house had gone into foreclosure and it turned out the new owner was your father, her parents' house. I won't give you his name. In the event that I do not get well, do not seek him out for anything. You'll get through things, you always do. Love forever, Mom. So she says she suspected it was Lippincott she was referring to. Well, yeah, you've already confirmed that was your father. So, duh. She must have met with him at the house. Could he have been the one to infect her? I mean, yeah, probably. Who else would have done it at this point? Who else has motive? You haven't learned anything about Deverick's dad. You've only learned stuff about Lippincott. So clearly the only suspect is Lippincott. So Angelo shows up at her apartment. Nobody else is home. He then attacks her. She bites on his thumb and then he has a knife and he threatens her. He has a knife and a gun. Wait, does he have a knife and a gun or does she? No, he steals her knife and then he says, and this is really gross, I'm gonna you hard, and I'm gonna take that knife and slit your throat because you know poetic justice. Why? What have I ever done to you? It's not about what you've done. Somebody at that school has it in for you. Someone from my school put you up to this? Yep, not gonna say who though. It's a secret. I mean, clearly it's her dad. So yeah, he struck some deal with someone to kill me. Yeah, no shit, like we just explained this. She gets the knife and cuts him on the cheek. He then force feeds her drugs. Then she recalls that her mom was alive in the bathtub. What ends up happening is that like her mom had attacked B, and then she was holding her mom underwater, and then she hit her head on the tub, and then Angelo ends up killing her mom, like cut her mom on the wrists. Or like he fully drowned her and then he did that? I don't remember. I was sent to finish the bitch off. Imagine my surprise when you beat me to it. I'd love to forget those fucking disgusting things wriggling around in the tub, feeding on her blood before I sent them down the drain. I saved your ass, Lily Cat. Between that and lying about your existence to Lippincott, I saved your ass so many times you owe me that ass. What an awful line. And I'm sure as hell gonna take it. Some couples, they get matching tattoos. You and me, we're gonna have matching scars. Only yours ain't gonna be so pretty. I bet you had a rotating door of sticking it in that little pussy of yours, didn't you? You fucking a teacher. And then he like grabs her like Donald Trump style. And in order to piss him off further, she says that she fucked her teacher. He then threatens to essay her with the business end of his blade is what the book says. And then who should show up and save her life? Melisandre. Just kidding. It's Deverick. I had you though for a second. She then has another dream where she's imagining her mother in like water and her mom's like, come on, Lilia, jump. And it's again, just like that scene out of Anastasia. Mama, something tugs on my foot. Come, Lilia, it's so peaceful. Anyway, she wakes up. She's been out for 2 days. She realizes, oh my gosh, I'm a monster. I killed my mom. She wasn't your mother. Something else had commanded her mind that night, and your sister got in the way. You were brave to fight him, my brave little moth. She asks if he's dead, and he says that he won't hurt her again. He says that he told Angelo to make a very convincing call to Lippincott that makes Lippincott think that he effectively killed Lilia, so he's not after Lilia anymore. Your existence is a threat to him and his position should his wife find out about you. I've no doubt she'd leave him destitute. He's desperate to keep his position in the Rooks. The Rooks? They're a secret society, right? Yeah, that secret society that never comes up, that one? Good grief. You don't want to know what happened to Angelo. So then he leaves to go talk to Lippincott, admits that he is storing Angelo in his father's old lab down in the mansion's catacombs, and he gave him the dose of larvae that he'd intended to give the sex worker back in Thresher Bay. Oh, so we're calling her a sex worker now instead of prostitute. I don't know why we did that at the last minute, why we couldn't have called her a sex worker from the beginning, but okay. He talks to Lippincott, and Lippincott's like, you're in deep shit, Deverick. The Rooks are coming for you. Melisandre Winthrop has accused you of holding her at knife point and threatening to cut her nipples off the blade. She claims you attacked her for some files. When did this happen? What the fuck are you thinking, Deverick? Melisandre Winthrop, the chairman's daughter, are you nuts? I never threatened her, Deverick says. And then he shows him the camera, and it literally has a guy that looks just like him. And that's when he realizes that his twin brother is still alive.
Oh, well, you missed breakfast.
Meanwhile, he has given Lippincott a dose of larva inside of his glass of whiskey or whatever. I want everything you have on the toxin, Deverick. All of your research. Copy everything onto this chip, and I promise you won't have to die. I want all the data, all the formulations, everything. So then he starts asking, hey, did you hire Angelo to kill Lilia? Answer the question or I'm going to destroy all the information that you're asking for. And also, if you try to kill me, I've installed a failsafe. Yes, I had her killed. I tried to be discreet about it, but that didn't work out, so I had to take more aggressive measures. She was a liability. And it turns out that Lippincott was the one who drugged her with Knoxberries at the gala. Well, he had her drugged via a server. Lilia was a liability to me. You just said that. I made a mistake years ago fucking her mother and it nearly cost me my marriage. You killed her mother. I eliminated a problem. She would have met a watery grave with the 6 other women. Why she didn't is a fucking mystery of the ages. And also he hates Dr. Gilchrist because he feels like he's being pushed around by women. Great. Spencer isn't even mine. He was a product of my wife's affair with your father, making him Deverick's brother. Copy the files, Deverick. Don't make me blow your brains out of your skull. Then he gets an email from Spencer. I don't even remember what that was about. So she goes into his lab in the next chapter and she finds Angelo on a steel examination table.
Thank God. What? I thought for a second A harvested our organs.
Cut up, dead, eyes gouged out, tongue sawed off. She pukes. Guy with a plague mask steps out of the corridor. She runs away. Then Deverick comes in, and so does Dr. Gilchrist. Dr. Gilchrist brings him the memory chip that he asked for. He, as in, it's Caedmon, but neither of them know that. He starts calling Lily a baby, which is a clue that it's not him. She tries to run. He throws a knife at her. It sticks into the wall. I'm gonna ask Dr. Gilchrist some questions, and if she doesn't answer, you get to watch me soak this sheet in her blood. How did Lilia's mother become infected? Her mother seemed to have a natural resistance. When that changed, I don't know. What I do know is I saw Vanessa with Lippincott 4 years ago, about the time she got sick, and I firmly believe it was that encounter which sealed her fate. Did you kill Jenny Herrick? She wasn't a threat to me by any means. I learned from Spencer that Mel had made a drunken confession to him the night he drugged her. She claimed to have a sexual relationship with his father. So Melisandre has been fucking Lippincott. He then threatens to bone Lilia in front of Dr. Gilchrist, which this guy, who's Caedmon, doesn't say sorry for later, which is really weird. He takes off his shirt. He has tattoos, so now they for sure know that this is not Deverick. You and me, we're gonna go for a little ride together. Wait, you just said you were gonna bone her in front of Dr. Gilchrist. Now we're going for a ride? She asks him why the plague mask, and he says that's actually your boyfriend's costume, Deverick. It's to hide their faces when they murder. Who's they? The Rooks. Your little fuck toy is one of them. He was the broken version of Deverick. No. If I have two cars and both of them are, I don't know, a Kia Forte, and one of them has a shot out tire and the other one has two shot out tires, they're both broken. One's just more broken than the other. Both these men are pieces of shit, and one of them just has more trauma than the other. Both trash, undrivable. Leave them. Don't leave them. I mean, just get a new tire if it's an actual car, but you get the metaphor. So Deverick's going through footage and he realizes that the girl he was accused of like doing something to, Jenny, the one who he was the last person to saw her alive was him. What actually happened is that Dr. Lippincott and Melisandre killed her. Melisandre whacked her over the head, and then Dr. Lippincott put her in an incinerator alive, along with a file. That file, she still held incriminating evidence against your father. Since when do you give a shit about his reputation? You smeared his name through the dirt throughout all of my academic career. I'm so tired. I was protecting you, Deverick. It was your reputation on the line. On my father's deathbed, Deverick says, he told me you sabotaged the experiment. You're the reason it was shut down. At the time, I just thought he was desperate and pathetic, looking to blame someone else, but now I'm wondering if maybe those files spoke a different truth. And Lippincott's like, no, that study was supposed to be mine. He throws liquor in Lippincott's face, and he's like, you kidnapped my brother. You set all of this up. Yes, I took Caedmon. I didn't plan to kill him, though. Who knew your father was such a greedy prick? I guess his dad wouldn't give up the study secrets or something. I don't know. It doesn't really fucking matter. The Rooks are coming for you, Deverick. So then the Rooks come and get him, but then he fucks off and gets out of there. Caedmon and Lilia have the same conversation like twice where he's like, get on the bike, because he drives a motorcycle. Of course he does. One of the brothers had to drive a motorcycle while the other drives a Maserati or whatever the fuck. So it turns out that the women in the study were given contaminated doses, and that's why they ended up with the worms, but not the two who ran away, which included her mom. But then when she came back, that's when Lippincott infected her. So Lippincott set all of this up. They get taken by the Rooks. Lippincott is dead. Caedmon killed him. And so now they're on trial with the Rooks. And Lilia is also standing on trial as part of this, even though she's not part of the Rooks. But because they have all of the files, they can prove that they had justification to kill Lippincott. Dr. Gilchrist can back them up. We will investigate this further in an effort to restore the Bramwell name. As for Miss Vespertine, we find ourselves in a rather precarious position. Her awareness of our organization poses a threat to the security and anonymity we've upheld for centuries. As you know, in the past, This has resulted in swift execution. I propose to make her a member because the research belongs to her. So they're like, you want to become a rook? She says yes, even though we don't know what the fuck the rooks do. And she's like, yeah, but I also want my scholarship reinstated all 4 years and a master's degree. And I want my childhood home paid for in full. I'm like, your childhood home? But you didn't even live there. Are you talking about your mom's house? Or are you talking about the house that you lived in with Connor? What are we talking about? I also don't really understand like why the research is technically hers, but okay. So then they give her everything that she asked for and then they brand her and now she's part of the Rooks, whatever the fuck that is, or whatever the fuck that means. And they're like, yeah, you need to look up the handbook. Like, what is even in there? As a member, you'll have access to whatever you want. There's a lot of money and a lot of power in this organization, Lilia. I suspect they made you a member based on the potential of what the research will bring. Well, then why didn't you propose this sooner? He does not tell her about the fact that he was going to kill a sex worker, just like her mother was tested on and killed. I would have killed every person in that room a moment ago. I'd have killed Lippincott Gilchrist, my own brother, if he'd laid a hand on you. I mean, he did actually threaten her with SA, but okay. I've staked on my claim on you, Lilia. God help you. God help me. So then Caedmon and Deverick finally have it out. They meet and crystals of shock spun around my muscles, leaving me frozen in place. Crystals of shock? What a weird way to say that. Why didn't you come to me, Cade? Why stay hidden? I want nothing to do with a rook. You never would have survived the shit they did to me, Deverick. Yeah, you wouldn't last an hour in the asylum where they raised him. You got cozy with Lippincott, even went so far as to fuck his only daughter. Is that how you learned how to forgive him? Maybe I should have fucked her too. Then they get in a physical fight. Of course they do. He says, what the fuck is wrong with you, to his brother, which is rich coming from this guy. Then suddenly his brother's like, shut the fuck up, and he's holding his temples. He was coming undone. You remember, don't you? And then his brother, I just need to show you this. Look how ridiculous this is. Look at that. Do you see this? Looks like gibberish. What it actually says is, I am a shadow, I am a ghost, I am nothing, I am a shadow, I am a ghost, I am nothing, with no spaces, which is stupid. You are my brother. It's me, Cade. He finally broke. I fought tears as I held him. Yeah, because we wouldn't want this man to cry, because we all know that that would be not hot. And if this man isn't hot, then we have nothing here for him. There's nothing left. There's nothing to eat. Someone kept you in prison. Who was it? Cade says, Angelo had me chained up in some abandoned building somewhere. Lippincott showed up, told him our father refused to make it the deal, so Lippincott told him to get rid of me. I was sold to some rich prick out of Massachusetts, a society of rich and powerful men like the Rooks, only they weren't academics. They made sport of torturing people. Oh, right. This is Schadenfreude. Honestly, we should have gotten POVs from Caedmon. That might have been a better book. I like how my answer is always just more POVs. He began to feed me lies, not outright. It was a slow drip feed. He started invading my dreams with images of you siding with Lippincott. So all it took was them having one conversation for his brainwashing of over a decade to be undone. Okay. And the guy at the beginning of the book who got in trouble for selling like secrets of the Rooks to some CEO, some pharmaceutical CEO, that was part of this. Lippincott had met with Angelo about buying some research for a breakthrough treatment. The shady deal the Rooks had gotten wind of a while back. The conniving bastard was behind that the whole time, and he'd let that guy take the fall for it. And Caedmon's like, anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna fuck off. And I don't need your money. I need to find a reason to live again. This is so ridiculous. Took one conversation and a couple punches in the face for this guy to be fixed. 7 weeks later, I held up the test tube, marveling at the perfect homogeneous mixture of purple fluid and black sparkles. Black sparkles, come on. Sounds like something I bought at Spencer's. Do you think the black rock is the reason my mother didn't get sick with swapped inoculations? Considering the timeline you gave me, and Francesca having confirmed that she enjoyed the black rock tea from the apothecary, yeah, I think that it gave her enough resistance to avoid infection. So the black rocks that both her mom used to drink tea of and the aforementioned native people of the island used to put on their teeth or replace with their teeth or something, that's like immunity from the worms. And that's why the birds don't get the worms. Oh boy. The Black Rock Castillon had stabilized the toxin. So she's a rook, he's a rook, whatever the fuck that means. And she's his associate researcher now. I have a board meeting in 2 hours and I need to kill some of this tension. Turn over and spread your knees. Why does the forbidden, I'm so tired. Why does the forbidden have to be so fucking sweet? A ravenous greed throbbed in my belly. Oh good, greed. There it goes again. Do you need a proper Miss Vespertine. Yes, Professor. I'm dying. For the 2 weeks, literally, there's no separation between this. Yes, Professor. For the 2 weeks after Angelo's death, he had an attempt to touch me that way. Oh my God, what a gentleman. He only, never told you that he almost infected a sex worker the same way that your mom was. What a babe. But don't worry, he waited 2 weeks to have sex. Anyway, after we get told that, still bent over his desk, I waited for his ruthless plundering. I'll never be free of that word. I'll never be free of seam and plundering and greed. The maddening lust for his lechery had me feeling like I might combust from the tension. Look how well you take my hot dog. You were made for me. There it is. I've been waiting this whole book for the line to show up where it's always like, you're a perfect fit, just like you were made for me. Ugh, I hate it. Something clawed inside me. At this point, I'm like, oh, is it worms? God, I hope so. It begged me to turn away from him, to push off and curse him, twisting and writhing in my gut with a furious determination to break away. And it's not worms, it's love. She has this whole piece where she's like, just me. I don't want to talk. I feel like I'm being eaten from the inside out. And it's not worms, it's love. It's inside me, burning like a fever I can't shake. It's a spiteful, prideful anger that refuses to admit the truth. Oh wait, he said that. Oh, who cares? Anyway, she finally admits that she loves him. Don't ever hesitate to touch me, Lilia. You're the only one who can. It was you who dragged my heart from this insensate slumber. Kill me. He f***ed me so deeply, fresh tears sprang to my eyes. I feel like crying too. Because I hate you both. Love was also a sickness, an incurable disease. We hid away in the shadows, stealing kisses under midnight stars. He taught me passion and courage and to seize what I wanted by the teeth. And in return, I taught him to feel again. And then in the epilogue, she's talking on text to her sister, who's like, oh my God, don't judge me, but like my new teacher is totally hot. You want to see a picture? And she sends him a picture and she's like, look at Mr. Cade. And it's Devrick's brother. The last words of this book are just shit, shit, shit. And there's no sequel, thank God, but there is a novella with a B on it. So that's lovely. Oh my God, wouldn't you know it? 9:40. I did it, bitch. I did it. That was terrible. 1 star. Just as bad as Gothicana. Maybe not on a line level, but certainly on a level. It was bad. Everything cool in this book is just watered down by all the nonsense. Like, at least we didn't like not answer questions to the level that Gothicana did, but the sex worker thing really disgusted me. Like, that really and truly disgusted me. The whole, the V word thing, the scenes, oh my God, just, that was diabolical. It was truly horrendous and I had a terrible time, just like with Gothicana. Honestly, these are so similar. If I were Runix, I'd be like, I feel like I'm at the root of this. Or maybe there's no new thoughts under the sun. I don't know. I know I'm no thoughts head empty because this has effectively destroyed my brain. This book is like having yourself be full of worms, and instead of my liver being turned into mush, my brain has. It's given me brain worms. I cannot believe that this is one of those books that I see. I did a video where I was talking about like Sleep Token and Book Talk. I see a lot of these videos where it's like books that feel like Sleep Token songs, and this gets called one of them. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you like, no, I'm not trying to yuck your yum, but I just can't relate to the idea that the words plundering and greed and seam evoke the same thing that vessel singing and the lyrics of Sleep Token songs evoke. I just can't relate to that at all. They feel so bonkers apart from each other. Can't relate to that at all. But, you know, whatever yums your yum. I'm so tired. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you had a great time. I know that watching somebody's brain turn into worm food in front of your eyeballs must be a total blast. So yeah, if you made it this far, leave a worm emoji for obvious reasons. And if you have any dark academia that's actually good and not just Gothicana remakes, please let me know down below because I would like to read those instead. Actually, I'd like to read anything instead. This was so bad. I'm gonna go to bed in my big ass king size bed. which I am very excited about. If you saw for the ad for this video, I am not joking. I fucking love my bed. I love it. There's a bed in this room. I won't touch it. It's the spare bed. If you ever come visit my house, Natalie, I love you. And so therefore we will kick Carlos out to the couch and you can sleep in my bed with me because bitch, that shit is premium goodness. Okay, I'm so tired. I'm going to bed. Goodbye. Thank you. Love you. Bye. Hi, before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Ashley H, Beck, Call Me Kodiak, Choco's Homesick for Taiwan, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emerald Dodge, Eric D, Jade, Jill, John E, Jory, Julie, Kai Brecker has not read Six of Crows, Kalain OK, Katya, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lady Chips Loves Pride, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Other Lex, Lily, Maddie Miss, Megwin Rose, Melissa, Mixer Boneless, Not So Secretly a Skeleton, Peggy Lou Who, Piloting SRN, Rain, Ree, SJ, Samar, Scarlet, Steph B, 3 Raccoons in a Trench Coat, Urchin Audrey, and White Raven 13. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend. Huge thank you to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, Aaron, Alejandra, Alicia, Bobisha, Banana, Fofana, Fofisha. What are we doing? Alicia, Althea, Amanda D, Andy, Angelica, Artie the Ninth, Ava, Barry, Baywing, Beck, Blue Moon Syrup, Bookish by Jenna, Bookish Rabbit, Bridget 108, Kate B, Caitlin, Carlin, Carly, Casper, Kate, Kathy, Celeste, Che, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic Frog, Courtney, Darius, Danielle, Danita, Darren, Desiree Michelle, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorothea Supports Public Education, Draco-chan, Drive-By Thinker, Ebby, Emma, Aaron with 2 E's, Erica May, Aaron Starlight, Fox Waifu, Francis, Gadarn, Hannah C, Helen P, Hurry Singh, JM Tennant, Jackalope Max, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Jesse Ives, Jessa Sue, Jojo Bookish, Juicy Wizard, Caitlin M, Katie L, Katrina, Kayla, Kaylee, Kayala, Kendra, Kiara, KMTV, Kayana, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura is Angry, Lauren G, Lazarus Ray, Lindsay M, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Mataraptor, Madison, Man-Eating Plant, Megan, Malara, Mima Who, Morgan the Friendly Ghost, Myth Lesbian, NM Rap, Natural Blues, Nicole G, Paige P, Penelope, Penny Chilling, Fox Club, Pick a God and Pray, Plague Carrier, Pandemonium, Queen Cereal, Rach, Rachel B, Rebecca, Rebecca R, Ren Flynn, Rhea, Reese, Ronnie, Rosie, Sikoria, Saintbringer, Sakya Lume, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Shamed, Shannon, Sheen Onion, Sean, Sophie, Talia, That One Cute Chick, This Is Not a Trap, Too Thick to Work Tomorrow, Triple M, Taito Phoenix, and Unicorn Jenny. Thank you all so much for being a friend.